Do 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 do. Boo boo do do. Do 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 do. Still setting up stuff. I shouldn't have went live so soon. Is now true. Won't have anything to masturbate to. Ooh, 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 ooh. I sent you a link. Lance has gone fishing, by the way. I spoke to him today. He and I had a pretty good laugh about, well, you know. So, actually, funny thing, Lance moved from Oregon back to Louisiana, but is back to my hometown of Slidell. That is where I'm from. What's going on, Sudo?
Oh, not much. Hey, Sam's here.
Hey, so Quantum Eraser is an interesting person.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly.
He decided that he wanted to threaten me with violence. So I reported him for bullying and harassment.
Yeah, part of me feels that he's like Neo. Remember Neo Cloud?
Do I remember Neo Cloud?
Yeah, he's kind of a skittish guy, likes to lie like a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Part of me feels that that's like a sock of his. Just kind of the erraticness, but
yeah, I have no idea. He was just I said, "Oh, you're just unoriginal. I have no interest in responding to you." And he goes, and he quotes some citation on quantum phenomena and goes, "See, do you think those people are unoriginal?" I was like, I don't know what that has to do with anything. Like, I don't. And he was like, and then he quoted Goodwill Hunting, and that's kind of, I think. And he was like, "You spent, 150 grand on you spent 150 grand on an education you could have gotten for $1.39 in late fees." And I said, "Dude, I spent $0 on my master's. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I got a full academic scholarship. I don't know."
Jeez, I guess he figures he lucked out with. I guess it was like I've never seen Goodwill Hunting, so I'm guessing it's a library reference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is Goodwill Hunting is like a genius.
Oh, so he's actually autodidactic, not like fake autodidactic, like we see
No,
here.
he's like really autodidactic to the point where he's doing math on like a level that no one else can understand. And like he's the most brilliant mathematician in the world. Just like Ronnie.
Ronnie, I was about to say, just like Ronnie. That sounds just like exactly like Ronnie, right? Like,
yeah,
can't possibly be on that level.
That's the thing is, I have to say, I was bored of the DNA and water thing until now. Like, I've been, and Drag knows this because me and Drag chat like schoolgirls on Facebook. We joke about that, but we actually do. Like, it's 100% true.
Yeah, it is. That's not a lie at all, by the way.
Not a lie. That's not a lie. Like, constantly. And as I said to you on Facebook, I don't know what Ronnie thinks he's doing. Like, what's his end game here? So, like, let's say that let's say he gets you to admit that, maybe you have like some crying video where you're like, "Oh, Ronnie is so much smarter than me," and like, okay, he's still a bridge troll that works in a call center. Like, what? What's the end game here? That's like if I like rip, like it's the same thing as if I ripped on some there's a guy that my mom used to do business with this international company, and the son of the owner of that company is the beings I've ever seen. Like, he's a guy that I look at, I'm like, fuck you, man. Like, why do you
look so good? God damn it.
Yeah. But like, I could rip on him for being a dumb. But here's the thing: is I still look like I'm his accountant. Like, I don't look good compared to that guy. My mom wanted me to be in a photo shoot with him, and I'm like, I'm average looking when I'm alone. Like, why?
Don't put me next to him.
I'm not going to be shirtless next to Adonis over here. He's like, how are you going to shoot that? He's 6'3". I'm 5'9". There's no way.
Go borrow one of those boxes from Tom Cruise that he stands on to make himself look taller.
Exactly.
Did you ever hear? There was one movie. Did you ever hear what they had to do with Tom Cruise? The set had to be he had to walk beside another actor, but he had to appear taller than the other guy, and the other guy was much taller than him.
Really?
So they actually had to build the floor where both actors would walk, and Tom Cruise is actually on a raised platform to put his character at the correct height.
Wow.
Well, I mean, my dad actually sat next to Mr. T on a flight, and he's actually not that tall.
No, I heard that people say that he's like right under or right at 6 foot. Like it just makes it like the TV makes him look like he's 6'4" or some shit.
Yeah,
Well,
you shoot with a down angle and surround him with people who are slightly shorter than him, and you think he's taller.
My dad said that Tom Cruise, he's seen Tom Cruise in person. He said he looks like a little weasel.
Why that's funny.
He's like, yeah, he's like 5'7", maybe 130 pounds. He just looks.
It's like a little weasel. I don't know why that's funny, but
it just sounds. I think it's just the way I said it. To be honest,
I think I had a flashback to that old cartoon. Was it called Cow and Chicken?
Okay.
I think it was Cow and Chicken because it had a mini cartoon called I Am Weasel in it. It was anthropomorphic.
Oh yeah.
Take off, drag. I'm off to have dinner with my dad. So
all right, I'll catch you later. Yeah, thanks for showing up.
Yeah, I Am Weasel and IR Baboon.
Yes, I remember that. So someone just sent me a message on Facebook. Just a quick point for TE. I think he means quadruple down, but triple down. Are you listening to G-Man's podcast? Just a question. Why does he never address his egregious mistakes? DNA is binary. Pi depends on the units. One uses carbon is a compound, not an element. He repeated lies about his education. I don't listen to him often, but he comes out as admitting to be a creationist. That's actually a really good question. I know he'll correct me if I get it wrong, which is fine. He is an ID proponent. His position on the age of the Earth, I don't think that he's a younger creationist, if I'm not mistaken. But I try to stick with what he says at the time because it's a moving fucking target. In all honesty, like he will change and then rewrite history once it's been demonstrated that he's fucking wrong. So. If I ever get a chance to talk to him, which I don't use my opportunities to talk to him for good. I use it for lulz. Like I give you a perfect example, me using it for lulz. I posted a video called Never Ever, and the lyrics are quite vulgar. Throughout the song, you hear people chanting, "Get on my level, ho." In the background. So I tagged him and C Brown in it as a joke. I knew C Brown would take it as like he knows what the song is and it's a joke. And True was upset, so I had to tell him to calm down. So that's what I use my opportunity to talk to True for, just because I know he gets upset about stupid shit like that. But anyway, yeah, a few people had kind of mentioned like there's no hangouts going on, so I just decided I wanted to do a small like test hangout to see. To kind of take a break from the true talk and to actually show what goes on in an actual genetics lab, specifically the one that I'm in. And I wanted to, hold on just a minute. I wanted to show a little bit about something that was mentioned about the DNA and water thing here. So this was mentioned yesterday, and this, let me go up to the top of the page. This is page 20. So the company that is being used to fund or to supply our genetics lab is Biorad. And Biorad, they make all the gizmos, the centrifuges, the incubators, all that shit, everything that we need. And they even include these helpful primers to, teach junior colleges how to perform the procedures. And then there's an instructor's manual and the student manual. And I have pages upon pages of these manuals. Everything that is included in the materials list. Here's a quick inventory of just a gross look at what's in there. You won't be using all of these in the experiments, but some of them are for really, really specific parts. Like you really won't use agarose powder until you're ready for your actual electrophoresis, which I'll explain what that is later. So You can see here that there's a lot of materials, and it's designed so that you can take a piece of DNA, replicate it, and show, well, actually transform it as well, digest it, all kinds of shit, and it gives you a breakdown.
Don't go dissolve degrading it in water.
Yeah. So the fun part is that when you put this in the digest, you have to put it into solution. And I was actually going to show you pictures of what that looks like. For those of you who listened to Lance the other day, he mentioned shearing of DNA. And that is something that is somewhat akin to what True thinks that he was talking about, but not really. Shearing can happen while it's in solution, but it's if you centrifuge the shit out of it, and it'll start to break down. So what I want to do is want to give you guys a look at what one of my manuals actually looks like. This is, like I said, this is kind of a gross look at the manuals. And I think I was at page, was it 14, 15? I don't know where the fuck was I. What's going on, Steve?
Hi. I was power napping.
So let me, actually, I'll pull up the pictures. Hold on. Let me stop screen sharing. I have to fix the window so that you don't see who sent me the messages about True. And that. Okay.
By the way, you had said something about his viewing of the age of the Earth. He has actually said that he doesn't think it's much more than a few 100,000. So I do put him under the young Earth creationist, even though he says he's an old Earth creationist. But an old Earth creationist is not going to say that the Earth is only a few 100,000 years old.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did have that. He did try to.
Yeah. There are different kinds of young Earthers.
Mm-hmm.
There's the 6,000. There's a 10,000. There's 100,000s.
Yeah.
But they never get into the millions.
No. Or billions.
Or billions.
No. So what you guys are looking at here was a setup from, this wasn't our first experiment. This is actually our second one. Or I guess a continuation of the, no, it wasn't. This was the second round PCR that we were doing. So what you see there, the plant that you're looking at here, I believe that's sage, and the parsley one should be over here next to it that you can't see. So what we basically had to do is take pieces of the leaf, good pieces, around maybe 3/4 inch, and then take a scalpel and cut it up into tiny little pieces. And the hard part was trying to clean off the scalpels and then put it on a surface that was as near sterile as it was, because we don't want any nuclease to get into that DNA when we actually start trying to extract it. Because when you have this structure like this is encapsulating our DNA within the membranes, within all the other stuff that we want to get rid of. I don't want the chlorophyll. I don't want any of the other the cytoplasm. I don't want that shit. I just want the DNA out of the nucleus of the plant cells. So let me go to the next. So you see over here, what we had to do is put it inside this mortar and pestle you see here, and start smushing it up and turning it into just a mush, and that will help break down the cell walls. And so when it's in that mush form, it's much easier to get the DNA out of there. And then we transfer that mush into these microtubes, and then we use those micropestles that you see there. You can see that bag of them there, to smush it up even further. And you can see down here, it's the instructions here about how to cut up the leaf and how to deposit them inside the microtubes right there. Where the fuck is it? Okay, so here's what it looks like when it's actually in the microtubes. So there is DNA in there, and there is water in there from the plant, and it's still good. So This was taken, let's see, so if that's on ice, this is, I think, after we did the digest. Yeah, this would have had to been after the digest. So the reason you see ice in there is because once you extract DNA, it is temperature sensitive in a particular form. Um, that this was after we had digested, spun it, taken out the supernatant. We had obtained the pellet, and there was a few other steps that allowed us to. I think we had probably putting the primers and all the other kind of stuff in there too, so it start replicating. Yeah, this was probably after we started the PCR, so you do have to keep it fairly cold. But one of the interesting things is that keeping it cold is very important once it's in a particular form. And I say that because the guide here, let me go back to it, will tell you that once you put it, once you get it into the form that you need, here, down here, where it talks about the thermocycler, look at this here. The thermocycler is going to take it to 94 degrees Celsius. And that is to denature the DNA strands, and it's going to go through cycles of denaturing, annealing, denaturing, annealing, denaturing, annealing, back and forth in order to get it to replicate. If this was going to destroy the DNA, then there would be no point in cycling it, and that's very important. So when we actually talk about some of this stuff, we can make fun of True for his misunderstanding, but it is very pertinent to understand that heat is needed to break the DNA, not along the phosphodiester bonds, but down the middle rungs and breaking its the what's called van der Waal forces that hold the nucleotides together, the ATGC.
Well, those are hydrogen bonds.
Yeah,
Those aren't van der Waals.
I thought it was considered a van der Waal force.
No, van der Waal forces are intermolecular forces.
Oh, yeah, actually, no, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So
So you have interval like with
that was for like the tertiary and the quaternary form. Those are the van der Waal forces.
Exactly. Yeah, those are going to have van der Waal forces.
Oh yeah, excuse me, I misspoke, folks.
Yeah.
I'm going by.
See, folks, when you make a mistake like Greg just did, instead
fuck
of
'em up.
doubling down and sticking with it, you just admit you're wrong. And then you made a mistake. And then the internet will forgive you and let it all go.
Say things.
See, Ronnie, that's how it works.
Wait,
Hey, are you gonna get Steve Brown available? Because Steve Brown wants to explain exactly what happens when DNA goes into water, because he is now on the let's see, what iteration of Ronnie is this? I think it was like I don't know. We'll go with the second or third story. I don't know. But now he's saying that dissolve and degrade are the same thing.
I'm looking at a question from Benny Ocean. It says maybe you could do us a favor and ask your genetics professor if DNA is real. It seems that question is controversial, which I didn't realize until a couple weeks ago. And of
He's
course,
fucking
Kevin,
bold. Regard that.
Is he trolling me or something? Like,
He's trolling you.
okay, because that's I'm sorry, that's just fucking stupid if he's serious. But
Yeah, Wolf
Okay.
King, you're all garbage.
you need a headset, dude. What's going on, C Brown? We're talking about what goes on in genetics lab.
I'm still at work right now. Pardon.
Awesome.
Oh,
No,
okay.
we're here for you, man. We would love to have you join us and explain something. What you were saying before, because I would love to listen to that. Yes.
Steve, my point is this here, partner. It's really not that serious.
Well, can you answer the question very simply? Is DNA degrading and dissolving the same thing? Are they synonymous?
Well, it's not exact. Thing, but in the content of what he used it for, it's acceptable. What he was talking about was basically abiogenesis.
Mm-hmm.
He was making a point that the nucleotides would not be able to sequence themselves because they would never be able to stay together for that period of time. But the whole point is this here. It's just way past. I'm seriously. I mean, it's really kind of childish, honestly, to be still be on that same subject, to be having hangout videos. It's something that minute. You got so many things to talk about. You got so many people talented that can communicate and educate, but yet you want to sit up and do silly stuff like, are they exactly the same between DNA breaking down in water and dissolving?
Yeah,
it's
we're actually
really
trying to
not
clarify
that
that.
serious.
Yeah. You're actually rebutting a little bit, but yeah, we're trying to clarify that. So I mean, we love clarification. We want to be clarified. So again, I'm going to ask the question: can I use those terms interchangeably? If I say I'm going to put DNA in water and it degrades, vice I put DNA into water, just say pure water at room temperature, is it going to sit there and instantly fall apart like tissue paper? It goes
okay, no, but no. Okay, first of all, okay, that's a straw man all day. First of all, he didn't say nothing about. Hold on. He didn't say nothing about plain water, tap water, any source of water. That was not even discussed.
It was.
Okay,
many times.
That wasn't even said.
Okay,
what he know?
Would you want the time
content? Okay, hold on for a second. The content that he was talking about when he was having that talk to Dragnet, he was referring to the fact that abiogenesis is not possible because he do not feel like those nucleotides would have been able to sequence themselves in order to build that chain. Okay, that's what he was talking about. That's the whole content. What you're doing is you're taking these little words, okay, and you're trying to have so much precision onto these words because you don't really have anything else to stand on. So what you got to do is you got to play word games for very little small things to laugh and play about.
Well,
but like I said,
we're trying to get to the beginning. We're trying to get to the heart of this. I can give you the timestamps. If you actually watch the video, it is called Fiona and I Have a Chat on DNA and Water and Possible Other Issues. At 55:15, Ronnie specifically says that he thinks it'll break down in pure water because there's no salt in there. Do you deny him saying that?
And actually, I have something to back that up, C. Brown, real quick. The context
but hold on for a minute.
Go ahead.
Okay, but hold on for 1 second. Okay, I didn't get to I got to the first few. Okay, and I found it to be just kind of a little bit ridiculous. Either way you look at it, do you have to be very intelligent, very sharp? Hold on 1 second.
You're breaking up. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You're breaking up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was just me.
No, he's breaking.
My bad.
No, he's roboting. I would also like to say something if given the chance.
Saying.
I just want to make sure we get it very clear here. Ronnie was talking in this video about pure water. To say otherwise is outright.
I don't think he was talking about pure water because the whole
1 hour, 2 minutes, 45 seconds.
Well, hold on, Steve, hold on. Steve Brown, what video are you talking about? Be very specific with what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the video. I'm talking about the video that he sent me when he was talking to me. I think talking to Hogtie, and I think that this is when. I think this is when it all first started. He was talking to Hogtie. Hogtie did not like that word dissolve. Okay, he did not like that word, and that's where it all came from.
Well, hold on. Did you see the video? The very first thing that started this was Drag and I Have a Chat when he was talking to me about that's where this all started from. Actually, did he show you that video?
No, the video that Steve sent me. We were talking about.
I sent you timestamps, and then but I told you.
You sent me like 10 timestamps. The video that you sent me, he was talking to Dragna. But the point is this here, DNA dissolving in water, degrading in water, whatever. And this totally anybody could just understand that real clearly, because clearly Hugh Ross. When you guys asked Hugh Ross about it, the first thing he said was, "Does it really make a difference?" What you're doing? What you doing? Nope.
Okay, we have to get to the very basics. I have to know where you're coming from, C. Brown.
Hold on.
Are you saying that Hogtie?
I think it's best to let Steve actually get his question out. Let Steve get his question out.
Are you now claiming that Hogtie Champ didn't like the word dissolve because DNA does not dissolve in water?
What I'm telling you is in the conversation.
It's a yes or no.
Don't try to twist my words up.
I'm not. I want you to explain that.
Okay. Well, be quiet for a second. When I was watching the video, what I got from it when True said DNA, something about the water. Hogtie did not like that word. Just didn't really understand. He said something about the atoms breaking down and this and that, whatever. I don't remember exactly what he said. Okay. So from that point, from there, it seemed like that's where this whole thing started. Okay. But the point I'm making, I gotta really get back to work. I got nothing but another minute or so.
Can you answer that question? Are you saying Hogtie didn't like the word dissolve?
He didn't like the content of how he wanted clarification. Okay, for what True meant. He didn't like when he said if you go back to the video, when he first mentioned the word dissolve, Hogtie did not like that. He wanted more clarification. But hold on 1 second. 1 second, real quickly, please. When you asked that question to Hugh Ross, he looked back at Rana and said, "Does it really make a difference?"
And Rana said yes.
Yes.
It's really not. You know what? It's seriously. It's really not that.
Rana's a PhD.
It's really.
Rana's a PhD. Ronnie's a PhD. That's me. Buzz Ron is a PhD in biochemistry, and he specifically said Ronnie's wrong. He specifically has said to me, since and during there, that they are two utterly different things. Now, again, I have to get clarification here because now you're making a claim toward Hogtie. You're saying Hogtie does not think DNA dissolved in water when it was brought up? Is that what you're claiming?
No, I said was when through the conversation, True says something about DNA dissolving in water.
Does it dissolve in water?
Only thing he wanted clarification on how the breakdown happened. That's what he wanted clarification on.
Does it break down?
I don't remember by word. I'm not gonna let you.
You tell me what it does. I'll make it very simple.
I'm not gonna let you. Hold on for a minute. I get back to work.
Well, before you go, can I say something?
I'm more confused than where we started, though, Red. That's the problem. He's actually made less sense than before, so I'm kind of confused, and I want clarification. I would like.
Hold on, he has to go back. Hold on, he has to go back to work.
Yeah, let him go back to work before he's late.
So yeah, do you have time tomorrow, C. Brown? You're home.
I won't be.
I'm with you. I'm off. It's 22 degrees.
You're breaking up real bad.
No,
I'm gonna be honest.
You need to work on your connection, dude.
I'll say it after you leave, then.
Hold on 1 second. 1 second.
Just watch this hangout after the fact so you can hear my reply.
What I got out of it was it's going to be a warm day.
Like I said, no, I'm off work tomorrow. It's going to be a warm day. I got a few things going on. I can't guarantee if I can do that or not.
Can you give it a shot?
I get into the shop, but it's the first warm day I had off. I've been working all the days where it's nice and beautiful outside. The days that I'm off, it's always garbage. I got a lot of things I got to do tomorrow. So I definitely can't guarantee that no kind of way. I'm not even going to try to pretend I can guarantee that.
Okay.
That's possible.
But anyway, yeah.
Did you say your day was garbage?
Never mind.
No, I said.
Do you have time to listen to Red's point?
You got about 1 minute.
Okay, yeah.
I got to get back to work.
Because here's the thing. I don't know all this technical, chemical mumbo-jumbo BS, but one thing I am really good at is sniffing out BS regardless where it comes from. Now, here's the thing. Ronnie said something that was false, and yet he claimed that he was correct from the very beginning. How come when I click on Dragnot's screen, he's screen sharing a comment by True saying that he actually changed his position? Now, question C. Brown. Why would he have to change his position as illustrated in the comments if he was right the entire time?
Okay, because really, honestly, a lot of what we're talking about right now, there is no exact yes or no right or wrong answer. A lot of these answers are layered, okay? And that will give you guys actually credence, because if I stuck you guys to what Hugh Ross said and what Rana said, True is right off a rip, okay? But the questions are layered because there's different questions. There's different variables here. Like temperature is a different variable. If it was actually pure water, that's a variable.
Well,
the content,
well,
the content. Hold on 1 second. The content and when it's used is a variable.
Can you go back to that quote?
But either way you look at it, this shit is like way long drawn. I mean, it's really got real corny.
We only got a little more time. Hang on, we only have a little more time, so let's keep it very succinct here. True said initially, phosphodiester bonds do not break. He actually said phosphodiester bonds break when DNA dissolves in water. That was one of his claims. Phosphodiester bonds break when DNA dissolves in water. That was very clear when he was talking to Hogtie. Now he said, quote, phosphodiester bonds do not break when DNA dissolves in water. That's not a layered thing. He says, I know this. This is why months ago I changed my position.
That's a very specific thing that he's
mentioned. That's a very specific thing. That's no layer to that.
So I gotta look at that.
Do you believe? That's fine. Absolutely. Yes. Do you believe
that's a direct contradiction? That's a contradiction of.
Yeah, you cannot have been right all along and then change your position on something so major.
Correct. If you've never seen this, C. Brown, I will share it on G+, and I will let you see it for yourself.
And do you believe that point? Because we can go into this until we're blue in the face, but for True to say that and show a direct contradiction. You don't need to know any of this DNA and water BS. You just need to look at that and see that, Houston, we have a problem here.
Okay. Cannot be right all along and then say I've changed my position.
Exactly.
Then you're no longer
Logic
right all along.
101.
But let me ask you, do you believe that the phosphodiester
but he was. But what I'm saying
in the middle of the question.
But in a way, he was right. In a way, he was right.
Like I said, asking you, C. Brown.
None of this. Okay, I don't know.
I'm in the middle of a question. I'm in the middle of a question. Do you believe that the phosphodiester bonds break when DNA dissolves in water? Yes or no?
I don't know for sure. I'm
then
not.
Why would you weigh in on the chemistry if you're? I thought you were the guy that knows about DNA and all this. You don't know.
Hold on. I'm gonna tell you why. My position was that this whole thing is like way overdrawn and silly.
That's great. That's an opinion. We're asking.
That's my position. That's my position. I didn't say I was an expert. And just because I didn't say, first of all, I didn't say I was no expert. Okay, I'm decent. I'm pretty good, but I can spot bullshit. And I know a biogenesis is impossible. I know life needs a designer. Okay, so there's some things that I definitely know.
Okay,
and just like you, hold on for a second. Just like you, Steve, with the disclaimer in the debate. That it's very possible that a designer designed the system, but evolution explains it better.
Great. That's not what we're talking about. Hang on, Will. Hogtie wants to come in. Again, I need to know if Ronnie was right when he said initially that phosphodiester bonds broke when DNA dissolves. That's all I'm curious about. I don't care about your opinion. I like to know the science. Now, if I came to you and said, C. Brown, you seem to know about DNA. Can you tell me yes or no if DNA, when it dissolves in water, do the sugar phosphodiester bonds break? And you tell me you don't know, then it kind of tells me you haven't really looked into this issue here.
I feel like I put it like this here. Over time, it will break down. Time is a factor. That's another variable.
Okay, when it
the question is how long would it take to break down? Because when you get to at some point, everything gonna break down.
Sure,
and you can call it breakdown, you can call it dissolve, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but it's gonna break all the way down.
You know what?
That's not answered.
Well, I was just say, do you know what the half-life of that bond is? That half-life is 33 million years. So we're not talking on any relative time scale here. What's that, Hogtie? Sorry.
Over a few 100 million years, all those bonds would break down, sure. Totally escaping the point, of course. Look, C. Brown, there's one point I want to address. I understand you have to leave for work pretty quickly, so I won't necessarily get into the science of it, but I want to address this point, and I think a lot of people are making this point about the whole thing being all overdrawn. Like, why is this discussion still going on? Why are we still telling Ronnie that he's wrong about that? Let's focus on that question. Why are we still telling Ronnie that he's wrong about this? I want you to entertain this theory because he's wrong about this. That's why we're telling him that he's wrong. And not only is he wrong, but he's saying that everybody who says that he's wrong about this is a liar. He makes personal attacks and personal accusations because, and I can prove this to you with one simple example. Let's see what happens when Ronnie's right. Last week, he made a comment about Down syndrome being caused, some cases of Downs being caused by some Robertsonian translocations. I said he was wrong about that. He made a video saying, well, look at Hogtie corrected me on this thing, and it turns out I'm right. Within 4 minutes of seeing that post, I wrote to him through Skype, and I put up a public post saying, nope, my mistake. Ronnie was actually right about that. 4 minutes tops. So again, if you ask Why are we still talking about this a year and a half after it's? Why are we still saying that he's wrong after a year and a half? It's because he's wrong. If he were right, it would have taken 4 minutes. We'd have said he was right, and we'd have moved on.
That's it. That's why we're talking about it, because he's been wrong from the beginning. He's been wrong throughout the whole thing. He's corrected a few little things and then said he had the audacity to say that's what he's been saying all along, which is an outright lie. Outright
He's changed his mind. He's changed it back. And all along the way, he's been calling everybody else liars. He cannot keep his eye on the ball. He can't simply say, here's why this point about DNA chemistry is actually important. Here's how it fits into a discussion of abiogenesis. Right? He just.
I mean, the dude's the epitome of all his criticisms. He's a science illiterate that perceives science illiteracy throughout all his critics.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it.
And you guys all lift him. You say, you hold him over your shoulders like your champion. Here's a guy who's wrong, and he's out there making false accusations against people. He's calling everybody else every name under the sun, mostly liar, and he's changing his own story repeatedly. We have screenshots of him changing his mind and falsely accusing somebody of something, and then saying that Fiona, that he has said repeatedly, and now G-Man repeats it. He says Fiona put up a message saying, oh, guess what? Ronnie was right all along. And she has never done so. And now you have G-Man repeating that. It's just lie after lie after lie.
Do you believe Fiona has actually ever?
I should have asked this as a question. Yeah.
Yeah. Seabrad, do you believe that Fiona has actually said that Ronnie was right? Do you think Fiona actually has ever said that? Because we could all tell you she never has. She's been saying he's been wrong from the beginning, throughout consistently, and even now says he's wrong.
Yeah. Had you heard that, C. Brown, or do you think that Fiona made a post that said yes, Ronnie was right? That's two separate questions. He might be at work now.
He gave up listening a few minutes ago, I think.
Well, that's too bad. They had a good speech at the beginning there.
It wasn't bad.
So he's at work. He probably had to go back.
And that's fair. I know we should.
Yeah, I'll try and contact him tomorrow to address this more. But I didn't want to make the entire hangout about that. I wanted to try and make a minor segue into actually showing people what happens in a lab, because it's funny that, and I agree with C. Brown to a degree, that it is silly, but what's even sillier is the fact that something this simple and this non-controversial has to be repeated over and over again, and people come to us afterwards trying to actually understand science, and it's frustrating to try and correct True's ignorance and to try and help people get an understanding of what occurs in nature.
Yeah. Well, and there is some fair criticism in there. Like, can we not just get past this? But I also want to point out too that there were many early efforts to get past it. So, for example, in my hangout with Ronnie in December of 2015, I had said, if you listen to it, it's interesting because right at the very beginning of it, I say, well, everyone's talking about the DNA and water thing, so let's go over that. Let's make sure what you're actually trying to say is out there. But then let's talk about some other things, right? I mean, let's not just mire down that. Let's talk about some other things. And that's how that hangout starts. And each of us are kind of, you can hear the relief in our voice, like, oh, good, we're going to talk about something other than DNA in water for a while. But then when it came time to do that, when I said, okay, well, oh, so he wasn't buying it. When I was like, no, he wasn't buying that DNA doesn't just fall apart like an old wool sweater when you put it in water. So finally I said, okay, well, forget it. What's your point? Why are we arguing over the DNA and water thing? And he just had vapor lock. He didn't have, like, why the heck are we arguing about it? And what's interesting is that other people have come forward and said, well, why it's relevant is because they're arguing against a view that DNA somehow assembled itself by these nucleotides floating around in the ocean or in a pond or a mud puddle or whatever, and it just assembled itself into
whoever suggested that, though.
No, nobody suggests that at all. And I think most of us would agree, if you took even if you took intact DNA or DNA segments or whatever, and you threw it into a mud puddle nowadays, it would be gone within a day. But that's because the mud puddles are full of these proteins that have an enzymatic function of I forgot the word for it now.
Nuclease?
Nuclease, thank you, being nucleases. But there were no nucleases in the ancient world, right? Nucleases are enzymes. They are proteins that have been created by the fact that there exists DNA. So, it's not even a chicken and the egg problem, because DNA, for the first DNA molecules, were assembled in a nuclease-free world. That's why I may be wrong about that. That's just my understanding of it. The point is there weren't nucleases just running rampant in the mud puddles and the ocean froth and whatever else. But see, why can we not get to that part of the discussion? Why can we not just say, why is this an important issue? Yeah, because everybody gets their back up, myself included, over we can't talk about this because Ronnie's calling me a liar. Ronnie's calling Fiona a liar. At the same time that Ronnie's calling Fiona a liar, he's telling lies about her position and about things she said and done, and calling her a liar. Well, of course, we just can't have a conversation when that happens.
It's actually more
How
than
could
that, though.
someone with a large forehead know so little?
It's more than that. No, if you notice when you notice when you ask when you
I'm
notice
gonna
when,
start calling Ryan the big forehead scientist.
when,
Well,
hang on, hang on, I want to get away from the personal stuff. When you ask any of these people that are listening in, like C Brown or Kevin G or GPH or all these guys who think Ronnie's right, when you ask them, okay, just explain to us in your own words what happens, you get nothing but rhetoric. You get talks about what Lance said. You get talks about what Fuzz Verona said or Hugh Ross. That has nothing to do with anything about what they think actually happens. And none of them, not a single one of them, will sit there and go, you know what? Let me explain to you exactly what happens if I take DNA and I drop it into pure water. Let me show you exactly what happens. None of them have been able to do that. And that's what's most telling. Always go to something else.
Explain to me what that Mr. ID's probability thing is.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Sorry, I am really excited to see the result. I know I said this in your hangout, Steve, but I really want to see the outcome of that the big GTV expose. He wants to do his special video on DNA and water.
I don't think it'll ever happen. And if it does, he'll butcher it no end.
It's sad because I mean I know that G-Man will never become all that fascinated in chemistry, and that's fine. I mean I'm not that fascinated in chemistry. That was one of the other things that comes up very early in my discussion, that true empiricism and hogtie champ solve the world's problems. And I tell him right, I was never really all that interested in chemistry, and so I don't. I mean I know something of it, but not because of I care. And I get that a lot of people aren't all that interested in it, so that's okay. But if G-Man's actually interested, at least enough that he wants, because it's an issue that's part of the discussion here, it would be very easy for him to learn something for free. And I don't mean for free like it wouldn't cost him money. It wouldn't cost him money, but it wouldn't even be a big investment of his time. There are any number of us that could sit down with G-Man with a little bit of planning and say, look, you need to know about the characters of these different types of bonds. And then we're going to have to put up one image here to show you these rings that form this part of it. And then here's the little linkages that link the rings together. And then say, well, now remember about these different types of bonds. And honestly, after a half-hour discussion, maybe an hour discussion, he would totally be up to speed on covalent bonds, ring structures, double bonds, ionic. I mean, obviously versus ionic bonds, but and intermolecular bonds like hydrogen bonding. But and by the way, I had to think about that. Sorry, it is important because of the hydrogen bonding that holds the strands together, and the mechanism that actually causes the proton to wander free off the phosphodiester group. So yeah, you would have to cover intermolecular bonds. I'm doing it by strength. Intermolecular bonds, ionic bonds, covalent bonds, and ring structures, which is just a special example of covalent bonds. You would have to cover that stuff. But by the end of it, he would be able to. You could draw like two molecules onto a piece of paper for him, and he would be able to look at it and say, yeah, those two molecules would be indelibly stuck together, or they would stick together when dry and float apart when wet. He would be able to know that difference. G-Man, yes, I mean G-Man.
Yeah, I had to think about that, and we had talked about it a few minutes ago. Because there's hydrogen bonds between the bases, but there are van der Waals forces that's causing the stacking between them. So I wonder if that's what I think that's maybe what you were trying to think of.
Yeah, that's
stacking is caused by van der Waals.
I accidentally called hydrogen bond a van der Waals force.
No. What you're talking about when I was just listing like what we'd have to teach them, I was leaving off ionic bonds and hydrogen bonds because this whole discussion has focused on the covalent bonds.
No.
Earlier.
We're talking about the forces. We're talking about the bonding in DNA, and Dragon has mentioned something about the bonds between the nucleotide bases, and he called them the van der Waals. Well, those are the hydrogen bonds. The van der Waals are what cause the stacking.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was like a gaffe that I made earlier.
Oh, okay, because you said when you mentioned it, I thought you meant me. Yeah. And I'm saying I didn't mention that. I didn't even.
But here's
okay, I see what you mean, though.
But here's the thing, though. GPH in the outside chat is like you don't hold your standard the same. You don't hold your ilk to the same standard as the way he puts it, or something like that. Well, yeah, we just demonstrated that. Yeah, now we're worse on each other.
Just watched it happen.
Just watched it happen.
Just got corrected.
Oh my God!
In the last hangout too, Sam corrected me on the heat shock proteins.
Yeah, but Sam's a dick.
Yeah, I mean,
was my mic open?
It's like it's even if he's a dick, like I don't mind because I was blanking on hydrogen bonds, and I instantly went to what's a weaker force than covalent, and in my mind, underneath that was van der Waals force and not hydrogen.
Well,
So,
wouldn't the van der Waals force be the reason why we have the major and minor groove in DNA? Isn't that due to the?
Well, you talking about when it's folding, when it's in like the chromatic?
Well, no, and when you have the double strand, you're going to have a major groove and a minor groove, right? Aren't those caused in some way by the van der Waals forces, if I remember correctly?
I'd have to look at it again. I have not taken.
Where is Fiona when you need her?
Yeah, I know, right? But I was actually going to show this. I was looking up courses in the 4-year university I'm trying to go to this in the fall, and the course that I have highlighted here. What do you think this is about? Because I went and I looked at it, and I saw it as an option to take.
Course offerings.
You see what I have highlighted here?
Yeah, chemical.
I can't read it. What does it say? Origins?
Chemical
Chemical
origins.
Well, I would say it's probably be, well, exactly what it sounds. Chemical nuclear synthesis.
Well, what does the 4 mean? Like, okay, I don't know your numbering convention. What is 4?
No, that's a 400 level or 4,000 level.
Okay, but does that mean what you would call whatever year 4 or
that's like a senior level? I guess.
I think it's 4. I think that's the new way of doing it. It used to be 400 level.
Yeah, well, then it would be a person might call it. My guess is it would be then chemical evolution. You wouldn't teach this to 1st or 2nd year students. It might be mentioned in 3rd-year course, but in which it's chem, and it includes inorganic, drug, forensic chemistry. Okay, yeah. So you don't have separate listings for inorganic and organic chemistry. So CHEM is all of your chem courses. Yeah, that would be. This is just my guess, but having seen, we have similar schedules or calendars here. So I would say that's hey, there used to be an Earth that didn't have histidine in it. So why do we now have histidine, right? And you'll get into chirality and all that other stuff. But yeah, it's a discussion of complex organic molecules and the chaining thereof into biopolymers from an ancient world where those things didn't exist to now.
Yeah, basically that is it. It does go into abiogenesis. It actually teaches it.
Oh, okay. Well, I took in chem or in I took one of those, but it didn't go into abiogenesis.
Well, it's a fine line in abiogenesis.
Yeah.
It is mostly chemistry. I would think abiogenesis is more chemistry than biology.
And the course description, it specifically mentions prebiotic Earth, and that's why I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually going into abiogenesis inevitably, but it is rather than kind of skating the top of it, kind of hits it on like just head first. It seems.
Now that I think about it, yeah, it might well fit into a chemistry course, but you want to think about say me taking an undergraduate course in, I'm going to say the early 90s, and I don't even mean mid 90s, I mean quite early 90s. It probably would make sense then that they would talk about the evolution of complex organic molecules and biopolymers, but then sort of mention by footnote that, oh, by the way, there's the idea that these things could actually, no, wait a second. Oh man, where's my brain? I remember in the undergrad level, like very senior undergrad, I think what you guys call, what's the last year, junior and senior, so it would be senior, or what we call 4th year, learning about the, like these biopolymers end up being relatively fragile. And remember when I say that, I mean, they can be very, very stable, but if they break, if you've got a biopolymer that breaks a third of the way along, you might lose something important in that piece. So even though it's relatively stable, the fact that it's fragile at all would present a problem. So the idea then is they need some sort of sheltering from the elements, and that could be very achieved by, so you have those molecules that have the polar head and hydrophobic, so hydrophilic head and hydrophobic tail, so like the same bilipid membrane, for example. You can have monolipid membranes, right? So you've taken, I mean, by now you would have learned that already, that's the way that these things happen in drag, right? Like you've taken that now, like about how membranes are formed.
Yeah.
There's two different types of membranes. One's that's like a sandwich where the tails point towards each other.
Bilipid.
The bilipid layers, right? And then there's others where the tails all point inward. Yeah.
Well, we mostly focus on the lipid bilayer, which is referred to as a mosaic, I believe. we haven't really touched on. I think we'll go into that. I don't even think I saw that in micro. It'll probably be in my molecular biology class where we'll talk about just like a single layer of phospholipids.
Yeah. Okay, so let me give you the whole course in 40 seconds. If you got a single layer, usually the tails point inward, so that you have a hydrophobic layer inside, and then the hydrophilic or the water-loving layer, the polar side, is pointed outward. That's how you can dissolve oily things into water. Conceptually, you can have the tails pointed to the outside so that you can have a liquid bubble that's floating around in oil, but that turns out not to be biologically relevant. Or, of course, if you have the two layers, you have your bilipid layer, so that you have an oily layer in between. And then you have water inside and water outside. You have aqueous solutions outside and aqueous solutions inside, but they're separated by a bilayer. But the problem is that bilayer sphere can get only so big before it starts to blow up and distort and get all squishy and floppy. So they can really only get to be so big. Modern cells are much, much, much bigger than the upper limit of that, but they can be stabilized by membrane-bound proteins. Literally, that's everything.
Yay!
No, there's some details. There's some.
So can you explain to us transmembrane now? Can you use all the different types?
Well, that's why I say there's extra details. Some of those
okay.
membrane-bound proteins are there to provide stability. Some of them provide stability and provide function. So there's actually ports that open and close, like the. Hey, did you see Rogue One? Did you see Rogue One?
Mm-hmm.
That thing, the thing that they're trying to get through, and then like the bomber things are crashing into it, then they finally get.
Oh, that ventilation shaft. They got to go and transmit the.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself. Do you learn anything about the protocells in those processes?
Yeah, well, that was 20 seconds ago. That was it. That was the first thing I mentioned. That you would say protocell. So you can get a bilipid bubble that's very, very, very small. It's not nearly as big as what you would recognize as a modern cell, and that's because those. If all you did was try to make your membrane out of lipids, and you were very smart about it, and you oriented all the heads outward and then all the heads inward, so you had tails pointing to tail, they couldn't be that big, but they would be big enough that they could perform a protective layer around other water soluble constituents, including, strangely, RNA or DNA, both of which are water soluble. So that's how they conceptually could survive, and I think some people call those protocells. But once you get the creation of membrane-bound proteins, you can actually make a more stable structure that would be big enough, building things up to the size of a modern cell, including something like, weirdly, and I'm not saying anything bad about you, Wolf, but the phagocyte. I don't know if you've ever seen a phagocyte before, but they're
looking right at one.
You figures. They're big. They're WCB, the white
call that
blood
Dragnot's homepage.
I think a better word, Hog. I think a better play on words would be biocyte, because biology and I'm bi, and just
okay. We'll go with that. Except, well, yeah. So the white blood cells. I mean, they're actually surprisingly large. You see them in a microscope. And they're weirdly shapen and stuff. But what's odd about it is they're not this random wandering blobs of crud that just sort of float along. The shape of them, they actually can put out these almost mouth-like extensions, and they inside that they form an invagination. And they'll actually invaginate, is the proper term for it. They'll surround some. Often it's bacteria that's a single bacterium that's been marked or tagged with antibodies, and they'll recognize it, and they'll be like, and they'll eat the thing up, and they're that big. And so they're not spherical, but the actual structure of the membrane will bend and distort almost by command. And it's not managed by the lipids because they're not movable, but the proteins, depending on different things you attach to the proteins, where the proteins will bend and change shape. So you have proteins that are membrane bound that are able to stiffen or even cause intentional bending, like a garage door opening, right? The garage door is all flat, and then once it goes up, there's a place where it has to go kink, and it has to be a single kink going all the way across it for a garage door to raise up properly. And it's the same thing, but a lot more complicated, a lot more elaborate. And then there's other membrane-bound proteins that are like signalers. So it's like a tube system where on the outside there'll be something that attaches to that protein, which then causes a little flag to go up on the other side. which then makes some other protein inside the cell. So there are things that can happen inside a cell that are in response to things that are outside the cell, but the things outside the cell don't actually come in, but somehow the things on the inside, quote unquote, know about the things on the outside. And then, of course, there's outright holes that open up and allow things to come and go from the cell.
Can we get Ronnie in here to explain that? Because I think that's one of his fields that he loves is, G-couple.
Explaining things?
Well, no, he loves.
That's why I say the G-couple. Yeah. Well, that's why I say that when the whole protocell thing, the nature of membranes being these weird molecules that are neither truly polar nor nonpolar. They're neither truly hydrophilic nor hydrophobic, and at the same time they're both. These phospholipids are absolutely fascinating. Once you have phospholipids in your cell building toolkit, you can do some pretty amazing things. And like I say, I can sort of run through the whole thing in 40 seconds. But then as soon as I mention the membrane bound proteins, I say, oh, well, that's it. But I'm sure some other people would want to mention a few details here and there. Well, the phrase membrane bound proteins or membrane integrated proteins is another name for it. That is like 5 courses.
Integral membrane proteins, IMPs, right? Yeah.
What did I say?
I don't know.
I think I said membrane. I said membrane integrated.
Yeah, whatever. It's integral membrane protein. See, but even Hogtie can be correct.
You learn this in 2 languages. Then you come back and tell me if you get the words in the right order when you're doing a Google Hangout.
You get it wrong in both languages. Gotcha. Okay.
I could. I'm sure that's happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell is playing? What the fuck is this? Hold on. I think Titanic's playing. This is a sex scene. I gotta turn it off. It's distracting. But yeah, it's a lot of this stuff is really, really fucking cool. Like you don't actually get to see what happens. You get to see kind of the effects, and some of the stuff that I actually wanted to share here is what I do in the genetics lab, because I mean it's not like I take any of this shit seriously with Ronnie. Like
Ronnie would not be able to name a single thing in that picture.
No, he doesn't know what's going on here. I'm pretty sure Hogtie knows what this is here. Actually, he might not be able to tell.
It's urine.
Yeah, it's definitely urine. So what you have here, I think I mentioned earlier, it was agarose powder. So you take the agarose powder, which is just a sugar. Well, yeah, you can say sugar. It's food for the bacterial colonies.
Special science sugar.
It's special science sugar. Agarose is made from seaweed, if I'm not mistaken. And you turn it into a gel, and it makes like a Jello. It's like a Jello mold, and it's this
agar.
Yeah, that's an agar. Those are agar dishes.
Yes, so these are agar plates. So this is the agarose that you're going to pour into here, and then we're going to take the transformed cells that we got from the plant DNA and the other. Where is it? That's an assay. Let me show you the. Oh fuck. Okay. Whoops. Go the other way. So the plant DNA here. That has a bunch of crap in it. You can see it's still green. So we had to digest that and get all that shit out of there. And the excess was just thrown away. And so once all the chlorophyll and the cell wall and all the other, contents of the cell is disposed of, you then have to wash it again and again. I think 3 times. I want to say it's 3 separate washes, and then the liquid in there, the supernatant, has to be disposed of, and then you'll just have kind of like a residue left inside of there, stuck to a piece of a silica. And let's see if I have a picture of that somewhere. No, I don't. But then, yeah. You have to.
Did you know we're missing a G-Man hangout? Dang it! Oh well.
It's a G-Man.
That's pretty interesting.
We are missing a G-Man hangout.
Oh, I don't watch him live. I watch him after.
Okay, now I'm clicking on shit live.
He just constantly screams through his microphone, so it's not all entertaining.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to watch it afterwards because I can flip through it.
Yeah. Right. Oh shit, Hannah's in there too. Oh, Hannah was in there.
Yeah, Roddy's in there crying.
Our AP is doing here on YouTube.
Yeah.
I might have
I don't know what I again. Why do they keep on confusing like the great debate community with like this atheist channels? Because Hogtie's channel
because they think it's an atheist circle jerk.
But I mean, I've never seen Hogtie have a thing on promoting atheism. I've never seen Wolf King maybe, but I mean, other than that, I don't know anybody in our entire community that has things dedicated to like atheism.
I get that a lot, and matter of fact, I don't even get accused of and by the way, I wouldn't even object to the sort of atheism advocacy, because I do participate in some atheism advocacy and atheist outreach, but I don't make videos or do hangouts that are like, hey, rah, rah, atheism. But even more so, I get accused of the anti-Christian, like you're here to take down the Christian faith. And I'm like, I'm sorry, if Ronnie says DNA falls apart in water, I'm going to tell him he's wrong about that. If you think that that somehow undermines Christian theology, then I'm sorry, that's between you and your God, because I don't even see how that follows.
And last time I checked, the word DNA wasn't mentioned in the Bible, so
it mentions seed. It says seed.
it's not the same thing, Drag. It's not the same
Now,
thing.
is that in conjunction with mustard seed?
Maybe, I don't know.
But
Yeah,
I don't know.
just
It
hang
seems
up.
like they've set this like false enemy to kind of like have a combined hatred toward. It's like, okay, sure, they might be talking about Matt Dillahunty and R and Raw or something like that, but they sure make it much more general when they have these discussions. It's like this huge atheist community online that's promoting all this misinformation and hatred toward Christianity, and I'm like, where are these channels? Even the atheist experience, I wouldn't even describe like that.
That's not something
But
that
part of it's just the philosophy that we share, and that our philosophies are different from their philosophies, and that makes us wrong.
I know.
No, it's you're all the smart kids sitting around laughing at all the dumb kids.
But it doesn't make you bitch made, does it?
Well, it's funny though, because the lady that you barely see here is an evangelical Christian. Like she is the one that has no problem sharing her faith in the classroom, and I don't mind it. Like, it's not something she does every day, but we know that she is definitely an ID proponent as well. And it's not like, there's this extreme hatred. It's just Ronnie's a fucking douche. Like that's really why I like fucking with him, because he's a douche, and that's it.
Yeah, so she hasn't.
behavior. Yeah.
I want to make
Go
clear,
ahead, sorry.
if I may. She hasn't lost her job yet because she's an ID proponent, right?
No, by
Okay,
no
so
means.
So who cares? I mean, people are allowed to have their individual beliefs. I don't know why they keep on saying
Even
it's so
said
persecuted.
Adam and Eve earlier this week. She referenced Adam and Eve when she was talking about mitochondrial DNA. And one of the dudes across from me just kind of scoffed and laughed. I just looked at him. It's not like it's a big fucking deal. Like he lives on the internet and makes it a big deal.
He's a fucking
I would love to see 2 test cases happen just for randomly across like whatever different schools, or it doesn't matter how it plays out. But I would love for a professor at one university to say something along the lines of, oh, when you look at this mechanism. So for example, I'm talking about these membrane-bound proteins. That's a pretty amazing system. I think a discussion of membrane-bound proteins is a much better demonstration of ID, like the things that when they do their look at the trees argument. Membrane-bound proteins are absolutely fascinating. But they don't, they don't talk about that. They want to talk about the so-called ATP.
Well, Ronnie tries, but
whatever.
he just jargon bombs and throws it out there and says, "Oh, look, I know what a G-coupled protein is." So what? I mean, I remember what they are, and I could probably explain a little bit, but they are fascinating. Don't get me wrong, but I can explain it by chemistry.
Yeah, the way that she promotes ID is a lot like the way that you mentioned Hogtie. She'll mention a really advanced system that obviously evolved from millions of years of evolution, but then she'll go, this is marvelous. This simply just doesn't simply couldn't have just arrived. One of those typical ID mantras that they'll throw out, and it's not anything it's not like she's necessarily wrong. But it may be a stress to try and draw some of those conclusions, But,
so it's kind of an adaptation of the argument from ignorance.
A bit, but she's good at skating that line and couching it so that this is just her opinion, and she'll even say, "This is just my opinion."
Yeah. Can I just point out real quick that in G-Man's Hangout, there's not a single atheist in there?
Yeah, because Ronnie has controls. Yeah,
Ronnie, I think, is not even in there anymore. Nope. There's an agnostic. There's a Huxley and agnostic, but there's no atheists that I can see. Go figure. But they like diversity. They like to have other people come in and engage with them. Of course, other sides, they love that, even though they block them all. Do you guys hear that Ronnie had 80 people in his block list?
I believe it.
That was
really
awesome. 80 people he admitted to.
Well, is that 80 people or 80 accounts? Because I count for two or three of those.
I don't know.
Oh no, actually, sorry. I'm not blocked. I'm banned, and there's a difference. I said that about G-Man the other day too, about how I'm banned from G-Man's channel. And I want to be clear. To my knowledge, I'm not actually blocked. from joining their Hangouts. I am blocked from posting on either of their channels, but I don't think I'm blocked from joining their Hangouts. But I'm banned from joining their Hangouts. They just simply don't ever let me in.
Okay, that's a silly. That's a silly thing, though. I mean, if you're
what it's a technical distinction, because the reason I say that is because as soon as I'd said, "Oh, well, I'm banned from G-Man Hangouts," he can very easily go, "Oh, Hong Kai's lying, and then he can screen share his blocked list and show that I'm not blocked. So I want to be clear.
I understand
banned, that's what I mean.
Yeah, no, I understand how you're using it. There might be people that we've banned without actually blocking them on G+, right?
Yeah. And I mean, fair. I mean, was it fair to say is G-Man banned from my Hangouts? I've never really thought about it.
He's not banned from mine anymore, but he won't ever go.
As long as he doesn't use that dumbass, what was it, that blowhorn or whatever?
Microphone.
Yeah. Well, the problem I have, like, if you watch the last couple Dragnut hosted Hangouts, where G-Man's been present, you see. Upstairs. You can see Dragnut smiling because he was like, well, this is going to be we're not really talking about anything right now. This will be the point of this Hangout, is look what happens when you let G-Man run off leash. And as much as we accuse G-Man of vandalizing Hangouts, here's what happens if you don't stop him from vandalizing Hangouts. In fact, he will vandalize a Hangout. So I get why Drag does that, because that, or has done so in the past. I don't know if he still does, but that shows the illustration. This is what happens. Nobody gets a word in edgewise. He interrupts everybody. He whines about interrupting.
A lot of my older Hangouts are like that. And I told G-Man, I don't interrupt you. I let you do whatever you want, and the Hangout goes to shit every single time. And folks, you feel free to go through my old Hangouts. It's like that every single time.
Yeah, he was known as a Hangout vandal.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is that he doesn't do that in mine, because when he comes into mine, when he starts doing it, I tell him, okay, hang on, just, this is how we're doing it here. People get a chance to talk. And if he just keeps doing it, well, then I mute him or I hide him from broadcast. People might remember the one that he was in, where he was there to actually answer that specific challenge about about the Supreme Court ruled atheism is a religion. And he would talk about everything but. So I'd lower his volume because he was just running off topic and interrupting everybody and whining and complaining. But as long as he was actually speaking calmly, I'd turn his volume back up, and he could talk as much as he wanted to. And he whined and complained about that afterwards, because he says that's the same as what Ronnie does. And I've said before, what I did in terms of lowering G-Man's volume, I think that's what Ronnie should do to me if I act like G-Man in a Ronnie Hangout. Right, and so the thing is, when he comes into one of mine and he starts doing what he does in Drag's Hangouts, then I just go like I would do with anybody. I don't know if people saw the one I had a couple of weeks ago where a guy came in, he just joined the Hangout, and then he goes, "I got an 8-inch cock and it's thick," and I kicked him out, right? Because that's not what my Hangouts are for. And if G-Man wants to,
there's proper use as a bot control.
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry, this is funny, but yeah,
you didn't see that, Drake? The guy came in and he said that. Yeah, he just said that. He had a weird voice, and he just opens his mic and he's like, "an 8-inch cock," and it's thick. And I just muted him, and then I looked for the other panel where you have to eject, and I ejected him. But while I'm saying it, I go, you know what? It's Friday night, and if that were true, what you're saying were true, I'm sure you would have something better to do this evening than tell us about it in the Hangout. And he came back in, so I kicked him out on a different account. And then I turned on cameraman. He came back in and then just disappeared. And that's it. That's the level of trolling I get. In like once every 3 years, somebody comes in with something like that.
I got bombed the other day.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. It was funny too, because it was instant. I was like, okay, here's the link. I'm just gonna put in the live feed, whatever, And like seconds later, 2 people came in with big black cock, photos, and I'm like, okay, and they're like saying
actually,
shit.
I've seen that account before.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, I have no idea, but I mean, I had to take it down and I deleted the video, so no flag or anything. But they are people that watch these things that wait to see if they can get the link, I guess, because that was instantaneous. Yeah. There was no turnaround time. I think it was Wolf King, but that was Kenny Wolf.
Nick is in there now.
I thought you said it was big. I thought you said it was big though.
Oh, this thing was well, this was like I was like photoshopped or something. There's no way of it. Yeah, it couldn't have been real.
I don't know.
It was like
have you
12. It was
seen
like 12 to 14 inches or some shit like that.
have you seen Alex Carson?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll tell you about that later. Anyway, but back on this. Man, we got 30-something people watching. You guys don't watch G-Man? You guys actually want to see what I do? So that funny looking machine there. Well, actually, let me tell you what this. Let's see if I can zoom in on the bio. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you probably can't see us backwards. It says Biorad there, and of course, this is all Biorad materials. That is a micro pipette. I think that one was the 20/200 micro pipette. And so what you have to do is carefully take the wells on the electrophoresis gel, and you have to fill the wells with the DNA. And what happens is that you see that they have these panels here. There's black and then red. Of course, they're positive and negative. So you can kind of see it here. There's a black electrode right there, and then the red ones, of course, is over there at the opposite end. What's going to happen is that it's going to create, and I want to make sure I say this correctly, it's going to create a difference in electrical charge at one end of the tray to the other. So that's going to cause the DNA in the wells that you see over here, you can barely see them, to run. Now, the lighter pieces of DNA are going to run the furthest. And so when I say the lightest, different segments of DNA have different weights. And I believe it's related to the G banding. And feel free to correct me, Hogtie, if I get this wrong. The G and C bands are heavier than the A and T bands. So the pieces of DNA that contains A and T are going to run further than the G and C. And so you'll get a banding effect going down the electrophoresis gel. And then you can compare that with a ladder you set up. And your ladder can be like just your standard. Let's say if you're trying to do a paternity test, right? And so you can use a ladder. The ladder is your child, and the potential father will be the ones in the wells. And so you'll see if those bands match up, because if it's the same DNA, those G bands are going to kind of be lagging behind, and the A and T bands are going to be running toward the opposite end of the electrophoresis gel. And it's actually a pretty cool effect, which I've fucked up for twice now. Mine didn't come out too well, but yeah.
I have a question about that. So Drag, when you're doing that, like, do you actually? I got to contrast it with what we did. So you could you'd collect these samples, and then you had to centrifuge this and put it wash and whatever chemicals and stuff, and then you put it in these little sample containers with your name and student ID number on it, and then it went off to a grad student who actually did the electrophoresis. And then the next lab session, or you had to do a special lab session, I think it was, where you had to make another appointment the next day to come in and look at it. And they put in some sort of a fixative or something so they didn't smear out too much, but they still smeared like crazy. But my point is, we didn't actually, like electrophoresis, as you're pointing out, is actually based on there being electricity present. It has to be a direct current, this side's positive, this side's negative. And I've never even seen that thing. So do you do this, or is this something you learn about and then someone else who knows what they're doing does it?
This is the actual electrophoresis. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but this green thing here.
Okay. Oh yeah, back on my phone. So go ahead. I'm looking now. I wasn't before.
There's this green machine here supplies electricity to two of the electrophoresis trays, and you see my partner over there, Colleen, and this is you can barely see the top of my tray here. And we create like that gel right there, electrophoresis gel. We create our own gel, and those are the combs right there that we use to create the wells. And you can barely see her wells back here. And after we create the gel, we'll put in the solution. I can't remember what it's called, the electrophoresis solution, and you can kind of see it there, just barely floating above the electrophoresis gel. And we carefully put, of course, the top of the electrodes back down correctly, so it doesn't run backwards on top of the tray, and then we activate it. and then there's a timer. You can kind of see the panel right here where you time it for, I think it's like 30 minutes, and you'll hear it humming. And then as it hums, you'll see that fluid in there start to bubble up, and then you'll start to see it kind of cycling. And it's really, really interesting. You can actually see the gel running down, and then the machine to view the gels after they've ran I have to take a picture of it when I go back Monday, but the machine is up here where the stool is.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we do it all in the lab now.
Huh. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I put the laws that you're referring to in the group chat there. Is that which is based upon Faraday's first and second law of electrolysis?
Transfer quantity. Yes. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, once you have that transfer electricity, it carries the A and T chunks like far. Like let's say if the wells are back here, right? Can you see my cursor?
Hmm?
Okay, so it's back here where like a tip of Colleen's hand. So they will run to right about here, and that'll be your lightest bands. And of course, that's going from the that's the negative going to the positive. So it's going to the positive, and it's cycling back. That current is just cycling back around and
Yeah, you
around.
have a very high voltage potential difference, right?
Oh yeah, very, very high. And so it'll just run that again and again and again. And as it's doing the cycles, it'll carry that current will actually carry the DNA in the wells further from the well source. The lighter it is.
Yeah, it's based upon the mass of the part of the mass based upon the mass of the object.
Yeah,
so
it's
going to carry certain things with a higher mass slower than the ones with less mass.
Correct. Yeah. So the C and G strands will be kind of still sitting near the well, while the A and T ones are being toward the end of it. And of course, this is a centrifuge, because one of the things we got to do constantly is put it in the centrifuge over and over again, and that's the centrifuge, and that's the micro centrifuge there. That we'll use. And it's like, if you don't really need to spin it only for like a few seconds, we'll put it in there. But usually when we put it in this centrifuge, you got to put it in there for like 5 minutes and like max speed. And that's to really get the supernatant to separate from the pellet or the resin that we're trying to obtain with the actual DNA. And we had to do this, I don't 50 fucking times, I don't know. Even when we got the DNA, we transformed I think it was E. coli plasmids, put them back into the bacterial colonies, and then took and use a selective media to only select for the colonies that had transformed, because the selective media had ampicillin in it, and so we had an ampicillin resistance. I think it was like a beta lactamase a gene that was also transformed in there. Because one of the interesting things is that when we transform the cells, we had to use several enzymes. One of them, I think, was like Beagle something. I forgot. We like 5 different enzymes, but these enzymes are called restriction enzymes. And what they basically do is they cut the plasmids, the little circular pieces of DNA, in very, very specific places, allowing for our plant DNA and for our other pieces of choice DNA to integrate into the plasmid. And this would allow the E. coli to survive in that selective media. So now we know that our DNA made it inside of these colonies that survived in this media. So then we take that media and take a really good colony from it, and then put it in a broth. And the broth, let me see if I should have a picture of the broth tubes. I think it's like a tryptic soy broth. So so right here you can kind of see right here, I think this one's like a parsley one. So that's one of the broth tubes, and then we have a rocker where we rock it back and forth while it's incubating, and so the bacterial colonies will continue to grow while it's in that broth, and then we will replate it so that we'll get pure colonies. And so there's a pure colony for the thyme, for the sage, and for the PGAP. But this is Colleen. This is not mine. I had thyme, sage, and parsley. And so once it's replated, we'll then we have to take the DNA out of the newly transformed bacterial colonies and obtain it's pretty much the same thing like we did for the original plant. We have to get rid of the cell wall for the plant, or excuse me, no, we have to get rid of the cell membrane for the E. coli, all the cytoplasm, all that extra shit that we don't need, all the plasmids that were not transformed, and we just need there's a white resin that kind of looks like snot. That'll be in the tubes after it's done centrifuging, and so it's kind of a bit of a repeat of the first process where we have to get it to attach itself to the silica disc in the filter, a microfilter. And so I'm trying to see if I find the picture. So there's an assay tray that looks a lot like this. That we see. It should be a picture here of Professor K putting it in there. I don't see it.
Drake, while you're looking for that, are you a big fan of Simon and Garfunkel? I mean, way back when they were doing songs.
I can't say I've heard of them. I haven't actually. I'm a big fan of them.
I like Simon Garfunkel.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny because you said thyme. I didn't know what thyme was, and then as you were describing, it was oregano and other things.
And thyme.
And thyme. Now Steve will say thyme.
Yeah.
THYME.
Yes, it's time.
Yeah. So if you knew as much about cooking or as much about Simon and Garfunkel music as you know about laboratory procedures, you'd have pronounced that correctly.
Yeah,
now, unless some smug asshole in the live chat wants to say, well, where I live, we pronounce it time, you snotty jackass hog tie. I'm pretty sure you got that one.
Fucking Canadians.
I pronounce it time because everyone else in the class pronounces it that way. I didn't want to be the oddball out. Everyone calls it. Everyone in the class calls it time. Like
time. I thought you said time.
Yeah. Well, I go back and forth. When I'm around, for me, I pronounce it thyme, but when I understand, it's pronounced time with a silent H.
It's a silent, yeah. It's a hard T sound, yeah. Because I was going to say, and again, I'm mocking you so much, but didn't your mother teach you anything? And remember, I met your mother.
Yeah.
She seems like the kind of woman that would have given you a cooking class once in a while, just so you don't starve your dumb ass to death if you never met a woman. She didn't do that.
Yeah, no, she taught me how to cook. She didn't. The pronunciation and stuff.
Fat. He's not starving.
Yeah.
He found a lady.
Oh yeah, she feeds me.
Who I've met once partially, and it was unfortunately a very limited discussion because she seems a neat gal. She strikes me as the other half of Dragnut's brain.
Pretty much, so like the empathetic side and the side that has restraint. Yeah. Basically. But I found the picture. I didn't upload it. This is the assay, and for those of you who want to know what Sam does, so this is where Sam's profession comes into play, because when he says he's not a wet lab scientist, this is what he means. This is the stuff that I would do, and I would put it in an assay like this. And so what happens is that let's say Sam works at Biorad, and he is a bioinformatics technician, and so I need him to sequence this DNA for me. So he create a program that will work into a machine that would have its own set of, I don't know, what is this, probably 96 wells, and it would sample all of this DNA, and it would know how to read it for the thyme and the sage and the parsley and whatnot, and tell us what other pieces of genetic materials in there. So in each of these wells has a location. Of course, this is A1, A2, A3, so on and so forth. We put what's supposed to be in there. And if it's not something that's in there, then we know, something's up. And of course, we have our controls over there, which is, it should be the P gap. Where is it? It should see our control. It should say P gap. Okay, yeah. The P gap here is our control. I forgot what P gap stands for. This is Colleen, my partner. This is her shit. And I'm pretty sure she doesn't know either, but that's what our control is, to make sure everything went okay. But it should, since we got transformed colonies, unless something goes wrong in shipping. So we'll find out later.
I just love the bitterness you used when you pronounced it that time with the parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, and whatever the fuck else Hogtie and his stupid Simon and Garfunkel music. Go listen to Edie Brickell, you white bread motherfucker. And I did listen to an Edie Brickell
Edie
song.
Brickell.
I did. I listened to Air of December this morning, and I was like, man, I love that bass part.
What was the original thing she was in? The Bohemians? What was she from?
The Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians.
The New Bohemians, yeah, the New Bohemians, yeah. God, that was oh god, that's going back in the day.
Yeah, and actually another enterprise she was involved in, a marriage with Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel fame.
I don't think I even knew that. Really?
Why would I make that up?
I don't know, because you're Canadian and a liar.
I'm a liar. I hear I'm a liar. Yeah. But if I'm wrong about it, I'm going to stick to it for at least a year and a half, and then I'll deny that I ever said it and just say I was right all along. And you changed your mind.
Well, I'm going to validate this right now. I mean, I'm going to call you out because I have no idea. It says she was married to Paul Simon. 1992, not Garfunkel, but Simon. Did you say Garfunkel?
Oh, see, you're doing it now. This is what you do to Ronnie.
I think you said Garfunkel, didn't you?
You take those words and you just spin them around and around, and you just make stuff up and you lie.
Stop spinning, Steve. I will get Skylar Fiction to totally clip what just happened in the last 2 minutes and prove to you that I said Paul Simon and that you said I said Garfunkel.
Because I just heard Garfunkel, and I think you're just trying to rewrite history because you're retconning it.
I'm rewriting history. My favorite duo, though, of late is is it Garfunkel and Oates?
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, I love that song, the Loophole or God's Loophole.
Yeah, well, she was also
well
she was in the Big Bang, that show, the
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, no, well, it's just what's it called? The Big Bang.
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, Big Bang Theory. Yeah, and it's funny because I thought she was really cute, and this was back when I was living with Lyrical, and she's like, "That's your type?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's actually really cute." She didn't see it. I'm like, "Really? I think she's adorable."
And that's when the fight started.
That's when it went downhill after that. Yeah.
It's just so.
No, but I like that group too. They're actually really talented. They have a TV show. Well, it's not a TV show. It's on Netflix or something like that. They have like a 6 series that was supposed to be picked up longer, but yeah.
You're unmute, mute. You're a Marianne type, aren't you? Marianne or Ginger?
I am. Oh, Marianne. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
Seriously.
Ginger. You know what? I gotta say, of Ginger, too much head noise. Too much head. Ginger just had too much head noise for not enough. For just not enough interesting going on in the sack. That's my take on Ginger.
Well, okay.
Marianne was just happy to be wherever she was.
Check his trivia knowledge. What was the professor's actual name in the show? Not the actor's name, but he was Professor something. What was his?
I don't know, and I always feel like I should know that.
You got it
handy?
Yes, I do.
Oh, what is it?
Professor Roy Hinckley.
Hinckley?
Yeah, that was his name.
Huh.
Okay, here's another one for you.
Full name. But then through all the script writing, they always refer to him as Professor.
They did refer to him as Hinckley in the movies and the afterwards. But okay, how about this?
Well, because they finally realized that they've never been calling him by his name. He actually had a name.
Yeah. What was the skipper's actual name in the show?
Oh, I don't remember.
Ready for this? Jonas Grumby.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. What was Gilligan's first name?
I'm going with John. I don't know. I've never known.
Because Gilligan was actually his last name.
I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Timothy.
No.
Scotty.
No.
No.
Sarah.
No.
No, it was only used once. It was used in the pilot episode. I don't think that even ever aired. But they didn't actually even say it. It was actually in the script, but in one of the script they called him Willie.
William Gilligan.
Willie Gilligan.
William Gilligan. Yeah, I can go with that. Willie Gilligan. Willie Gilligan. Oh my God, it's a terrible mouthful. But you know what? I'm going to make an observation I wanted to make about 10 minutes ago, maybe 15 minutes ago. I may or may not sneeze at some point through this. But just about what I find weird about the CCP claim now about how, well, you never learn anything. Like those guys, all it is drama, drama, drama. You never talk about science. How many of their hangouts proceed through, and end with a drama topic? And what do they ever learn? And in this hangout alone, and at the time I was gonna say, look at the stuff we learned about, protocells and about phospholipids and different arrangements for membranes and membrane-bound proteins, and Drag showing us how gel electrophoresis actually works, like showing us the equipment. And we race through some of those topics, and I know what happens. Sometimes you'll get comments from people saying, I really want to know more about that, membrane limit size. In which case, then it sort of puts pressure on us to say, well, rather than me just sort of spilling out what's in memory, we're going to actually have to do a little bit of research, and we'll do a hangout. We'll talk about that, right? So anyway, I was going to make that comment like 15 minutes ago, but now I want to add to it. Now the viewers know the professor's actual name.
There you go,
Professor Hinckley.
And yet, over in G-Man, they're just having a circle jerk about what are atheists doing here on YouTube.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
Steve. Why were all the castaways on the minnow?
They were going for a 3-hour tour.
Well, okay, Gilligan and Skipper were the crew. The Howells were on vacation in Hawaii.
Right.
Ginger was on the minnow because her producer, whatever, it was promotional stuff for a film they were doing. Marianne won a radio contest for a trip to Hawaii, and the professor was collecting botany specimens.
I knew the professor and Marianne. I knew that she normally would not have gone on a vacation to the Pacific, but the only reason that she was able to go was because she won the radio show contest. Yeah, I knew that one.
I'm also a Daisy Dukes fan, by the way.
Oh, you got to watch that type, Steve.
Oh, Daisy
you got to
Dukes.
watch. There's something going on under the hood you don't know about beneath those books. Well, we'll have to do that off air. Well, no, you're old enough. You should
Catherine
know
Bach was just God, she was every guy's dream girl back then. Are you kidding me?
Well, you're talking about the physical type.
Gay,
Yeah, these women are all good-looking women. That's not the challenge. When somebody comes up and asks you, so Ginger or Marianne, your answer isn't a revelation about your interest in their body type, because these are all great-looking women, right? That's the only way that women can get jobs in TV, especially in that era. The problem continues to today, with the exception of Ally McBeal. But let's set that aside.
Hey, she married Harrison Ford.
Okay, that's true.
So she did okay.
All the Flockhart fans are going to be
unfollow. She looks good at her age still. She's like 50 or shit.
She looks like a
Catherine Bach.
She looks like a desiccated chicken egg.
Not a fan. But the question doesn't drill down to what your physical type is. It is, as a man, what type of bullshit are you willing to put up with from women?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I would be an absolute servant to a Marianne, right? But Ginger, I would not put up with her bullshit for 12 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Flockhart's actually over 50. She's 52 now. I just looked it up. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I like that little down home girl kind of shit. Far less bullshit than Ginger. Ginger was just like prissy. Deal with that. Couldn't deal with it.
No.
Could you be with it? Could you be with somebody? I mean, Chrissy had it going on. Good-looking woman, and heart of gold. Would never do you wrong. But could you put up with the sort of non-sexual parts of the relationship with some, the conversation and so what did you think about that movie we just saw? With somebody at the IT
I don't know.
level
I was too busy painting my nails during it.
Of the Chrissy character. Well, she wasn't vain. It wouldn't be the painting the nails thing. I've dated that type too, where I can't do this because my nails, blah, blah, blah. I don't put up with that bullshit no matter how smart she is.
Oh, my God.
Somebody who has a heart of gold, isn't vain, really cares about you, but is just as dumb as a sack of hair.
No, we all got our pet peeves. One of mine is like, you take a girl out to dinner. I'll have the Caesar salad.
No.
Fucking eat something, woman.
No, no, not my wife.
Drives me fucking nuts, man. Women, listen to me. When you're on a date, just don't order a salad.
The Caesar salad with, but no dressing and no bacon.
Caesar salad, no dressing.
Can I have 2.5 croutons?
Yeah, what you're trying to be, please.
And the 5.5 glasses of wine.
Oh, that I don't mind.
Well, no, see, you don't eat anything. Eat the salad because it's low calories, and then the wine.
So the wine
is all the calories.
Yeah, if it wasn't for wine, I would never had sex in my life. Let's get realistic here.
So, Steve, what do you say? You took a page from Bill Cosby?
Well, if they just mumble, that's not really a no, is it?
Oh, it's gonna be quote mine so bad.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter. You know what? I got
so
12
bad.
ex-girlfriends on my Facebook page that I still talk to.
They are
They'll-
amazingly hot.
Although one messaged me the other day. She's like, "Steve, what happened? You're not the nice, sweet Steve anymore." I used to be. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? When the hell that? I was like, no, I haven't really changed much. She's like, yeah, I used to be so nice. I was like, really? I don't think I'm any different in that regard than I am now. I'm just more aware of the idiocy in the world and more vocal about it. That's all. But I'm still nice.
Yeah, I think it's
You drag. You saw the chick that I was trying to get on my
the one
channel,
you sent me
right?
a picture of.
Yeah, the one that I've known
yeah.
since like 6th grade.
Yeah, you
The
need
one
to
that
use trying.
Oh yeah, she used to be a high fashion model in Europe.
I believe you.
She had her own little blog post and radio pop, things. She used to be known as the good mood food guru.
The good mood food guru. And here, I thought they called her Old Iron Throat.
Yeah, oh god, dude, I in high school I was like that girl is just like fine as fuck. Yeah, she was gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I guess she used to be really heavyset in elementary school, so she never got that stuck up personality, right? She never realized how hot she really got. So she was always down to earth and always a friend of mine. So
see, and that's the kind of girls that I like, because I really don't like the prissy, stuck up, conceited ones, because they don't know anything, and so then I'm like, just stop it. Yeah. Oh.
Turn off too. Sometimes, like, deep South accent can be a turn off.
I don't mind them. I like accents.
Really?
I like accents. I really do. You know what? I don't really think I have an accent I don't like per se. I mean, I prefer more the I like something with a small Spanish type accent. It's pretty hot. Like a Brazilian's kind of sexy.
Yeah, get used to that.
Or Czech Republic. Oh my God, those girls are just a little Slavic type accent to them.
Portuguese is the best.
All right, I'll be back in a few minutes. Just give me a few. Yeah.
Need to go.
What myth?
Just mute yourself, Steve.
What kind of chick do you like, Myth?
I said the Portuguese accent is the best.
You're married, aren't you, though?
No, I just have a girlfriend.
Is she Portuguese?
No, she's Korean.
They don't say that. Yeah, don't mention that on air. It'll come back and bite you.
Says, no, she's Korean. Oh, okay, well.
So I found out you like Portuguese.
So I got a tan.
I bet Myth has this really hot, exotic-looking girlfriend. You're supposed to say yes, just regardless.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
Right. You're beautiful, Myth.
Oh, you guys are beautiful.
We're beautiful people.
Did y'all hear the G-Man hangout where they're talking about vaccines now?
I haven't loaded up, and I've kind of been checking in every so often. Once I hear Carlos start talking, I'm usually kind of okay, tune it out.
Is that what they're talking about?
They did briefly. I'm not sure if they still are. I tuned out. It's ridiculous. It's like a parade of ignorance.
It's a clusterfuck of dumb fuckery. Let's be honest here. I mean,
I'm gonna send G-Man a message on Skype for a second and ask him what he's talking about. Hold on.
Why are atheists on YouTube? And I was sitting there listening to it, and I was thinking, well, a part of it is an educational component. And then they start talking about how vaccines are bad, and I was like a face palm. Like, I would like to get in there.
G-Man actually becoming an anti-vaxxer?
No, well,
he didn't comment on it too much.
He was, and then he said he looked at the evidence, and then now he changed his position, and I gave him props for that. He actually took some time to be objective, and he saw the evidence and changed his mind. Okay,
but what kind of anti-vaxxer was he?
He was one of those. Well, they're putting. Well, okay. Let me start from the beginning.
He said they were putting ammonia into these things.
Well, that he's partially right. Like there's an ammonia, compound.
Well, no, it's ammonium.
Yeah, ammonia or ammonium.
It's ammonium sulfide, I believe, or sulfate. I get confused, but that's a salt. That's not ammonia. If you put ammonia in your bloodstream, it's straight. Hey, Myth, what would happen if you took ammonia and you stuck it in your bloodstream? Would that be a good thing?
No.
Yeah, it'd pretty much be. That's pretty fucked if that happens.
Yeah, he thought that the vaccines were trying to kill people or something. I'm like, well, they're not doing a really good job.
All right, so he's not the anti-vax because of autism. He's the anti-vax because he doesn't have a fucking clue what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, which is okay. Yeah, he sees ammonia and then freaks out. Like, okay, gotcha.
But it's not ammonia; it's ammonium sulfate. It's not the same as ammonia.
When he looks at it, he's going to see ammonia. It doesn't matter that it's a different, compound entirely.
It's a salt.
Is ammonium NH4 plus?
I think the problem here is
NH4. Ammonium is NH4. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve. His problem is he can't spell.
Well, yeah.
So he gets as far as he can in the word that looks like something else, therefore it is. He doesn't watch his suffix, the word ending.
Well, I've tried to discuss that with him on many occasions, and he just thinks that I was being a grammar Nazi. And I'm like, no, you're actually misunderstanding this because you're not understand. I have to repeat myself.
Okay, Greg, you're gonna go up there and meet him, right?
Yeah, we're gonna go to the that museum again. By the way.
Okay.
Well, if I remember correctly, let me see if I can get this out. I'm not butchering too much. Myth, ammonia NH4 plus. If you took that right and you mixed it with some kind of acid like sulfuric acid, then it's going to be produced a precipitant, which is going to be your salt, which is ammonium sulfate. Is it something along those lines?
Yep.
Anybody remember that reverse chemistry?
Yeah, it's an acid-base reaction.
Yeah, it's an acid-base reaction.
I'm going to assume that since you guys aren't laughing your ass up, did anybody mute me or had I muted myself?
Have you been talking this entire time?
No.
We generally ignore you anyway, so it really doesn't matter whether you're muted or not. Long talkers, we go take a bathroom break and get water.
Yeah, no, a lot of.
Aren't I dumb yet? No, okay.
The problem is, and Drag, I know you suffer this too. If you're wearing the Bluetooth headset, you'll walk away from your computer or your tablet or phone or whatever, but you're still with the device that you're speaking to because it's Bluetooth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, my daughter had come in and she was asking about something about scales that she's working on. So I was singing with her, but it's like childhood songs. It was not cool, but
we didn't hear it, unfortunately, or fortunately, having a look at it.
Should have kept it on.
Yeah, sorry, you won't get
beautiful singing voice.
They did talk about autism though in their little group a few minutes ago. They made that little curve for.
Yeah.
Why did somebody ask them why they're having a circle jerk? Where's all the atheists that are supposed to be joining them?
Well, maybe Ronnie was talking about his disorder.
What, lupus?
No.
Does Ronnie say he has autism, like Matt Slick?
I'm not saying anything.
Oh.
No, he doesn't. Ronnie doesn't. For all his faults, he doesn't talk about any health problems that he has. I mean, he's mentioned, because I think it's of concern to people in the community, that he has a health problem, but he's also assuring people that it's something he's not just sort of suffering with. He actually does go for proper medical help, and he's dealing with it appropriately within the healthcare system. So, but he's not one to wear it on his sleeve. He doesn't come forward and say, oh, well, the reason this happened is because I have disease X. So I don't think it's,
yeah, that's
not
Matt
like
Slick.
Matt Slick.
Yeah, that's Matt Slick.
Well, no, Matt Slick, though, is also self-diagnosed with a friend at a cocktail party.
Yeah, that he is. Yeah. Although anybody that has, is an ASPE has looked at him and said, "I don't see it." So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
I actually had a pretty decent exchange one night with Matt Slick. There's texting, and we was talking about his wife. She had a doctor's appointment the next day, and she has kind of a rare condition, and we were discussing that. And I was basically ended up telling him, what they were going to tell her the next day, and it turned out to be right. And it didn't buy me any brownie points whatsoever.
Well, they think you're an idiot because you're just an evil non-believer or whatever.
Well, he doesn't have a strong memory either. He talks to a lot of people,
Right.
and he tries. Like he actually, it's funny because he comes across as not really caring who he's talking to, but it's because he has so many conversations he doesn't remember them. But to show you how much he actually does care, he actually has a note file that when he has a good conversation with somebody, he'll jot down like the person's name and some note about what they talked about. And sometimes if you talk to somebody interesting, he'll talk to somebody else he knows. He's done, to me a couple of times where he'll say, "Hey, do you know this person? Like, what do you know about the person?" And then, "Oh, hang on a sec, let me jot that down." And you'll hear him tapping it away. So he kind of comes across at times.
Yeah, good.
I think one of the worst things. I think one of the worst things that's happened to Matt Slick is the position they put him in. On on the Bible Thumping Wingnut, and it just occurred to me a little while ago. Remember that one of the features of the Bible Thumping Wingnut show was that they had the Psi-10 Bruchenkate position. That is the asshole. It was a segment that they should have called "Ask the Asshole," right? And then when Psi was so badly, he's I'm not doing this anymore, and he fucks off. Well, we need a new asshole. Well, Matt Slick's up for anything. So he ends up being the fill-in asshole, and I don't think he knew that's what the job was when he took it. I'm not saying he didn't do a good job of it.
he's not in the caliber of Psi-10. Psi-10.
He's when it comes to being an asshole, he's
Matt Slick as well. As you guys know, that was actually cool. But Psi-10, I would lose my mind. I mean, in fact, Psi-10 hasn't even been very active. He kind of fell off the planet after he got his shit pushed in by Matt Dillahunty, which was awesome.
I think he was past his tipping point when he arranged that debate anyway, because he wasn't doing Bible Thumping Wingnut much anymore.
Way out. Yeah.
He and I weren't talking anymore by that point. I mean,
but that sure pushed him further, though. Hogtie, come on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then he just completely disappeared.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's doing this tour now where he goes around church to church, and he's paid for these visits to the church. Yeah. And he plays clips of a conversation that he had with, believe it or don't, with frickin' I forgot his name, Jim Gardner.
Really?
Like he's got a recording of a conversation he had with Jim Gardner among a few other people, and there's something that Jim Gardner said that struck him, taking it out of context, struck him as particularly odd. So he uses that as part of his little traveling road show, and that conversation was 7 years ago, and he's just living on that now.
He's a total con artist. I mean, did you guys see like Kent Hovind was giving a lecture at some church and there was like one person in the audience? At least that's the way it looked like.
No, it was probably school.
It was school. Okay, whatever. But I mean, even that caption was just like, that he's not getting the audiences he used to get.
Kent Hovind's video.
Now hold on. We only saw the first 4 rows on one side of the room.
Right. But I mean, but the news.
But you're right.
He's not.
But there's nobody in the first. There's nobody in the first 4 rows. How many people are in the actual room itself?
Yeah.
The room was not packed.
Yeah, no, I think people are definitely buying less and less into these people's bullshit. But as long as they have a forum, they can go spew this shit. Then they're going to keep up the facade of actually. People, I don't think they believe this shit for a moment. I don't anymore.
The churches will be their forum.
Yeah. I mean, they are making money off the church, but again,
no,
I mean,
the churches. You look at Ken Ham. With his ARC experience, he put out feelers for all like the different youth groups and church groups and stuff to come visit. They gave him a deal on tickets, and they haven't shown up.
Oh yeah, they've lost a lot of money on that ARC. Let's be realistic.
Oh, yeah.
They've lost a lot of $100 million that they invested in that, and there's no way they're going to recoup.
No, those are donations, Steve.
It doesn't matter what he lost a lot of money. Right, the money went to shit. It basically is wasted. The highest day they had was their opening day. I think it was their soft opening. Even it was 5,000 something people.
Yeah, they were the protesters.
Well, no, they had they had actually the people. But whenever you have a business model, they wanted that. They were expecting 5,000 a day throughout the year, and you usually have your highest during season, not your soft opening. They didn't get any. They were getting like 1,000. They were getting like 1,000 or something, and even then, it's been less than that. So they're getting a marginal amount compared to what their forecast was. But he doesn't care. Yeah. He hasn't lost a dime in this. People.
Yeah.
No, I have a good friend that actually went to one of his I don't know, little conferences or whatever, and she's kind of this friend's actually kind of what got me in the whole YouTube deal. I was with her and her daughter and one of my friends who's a physics professor, and I was talking about, I don't remember, an article in National Geographic, I think, about a glacier or something, and whatever it was, I had said the phrase millions of years, and as soon as I said that, my friend's I don't know, 7-year-old daughter, I said millions of years, and my friend's 7-year-old daughter, I swear, said Satan's propaganda.
Oh God.
And I stopped. I was like, "What?" It took me a second to realize what it was. Where she was coming from, and then they told me, they were going to one of Kent Ham's little conferences or whatever. So I started listening to them and Hovind and everything. So,
And did you at that point think to yourself, you know what? If I could do anything to help fight this bullshit, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's time to find new friends.
And I tell you what, she listened to Matt Slick and them, and I started listening to them too. And I've been talking with her, and I think I have her turned around.
Hey.
Straight and narrow.
Yeah.
In
Well,
fact,
you know,
sometimes I need to get her on the group sometime.
It's funny how the evangelicals have really embraced the word propaganda. I mean, they've embraced the practices of propaganda, but they also know that part of your propaganda needs to be to label the other side's information as propaganda. And it's just a standard thing. Like the fact that a child would use the word propaganda
Exactly.
is itself an example. I mean, that's, does she know the word indoctrination? Right? Because that's what it is when you do that. And they just can't seem to distinguish between when there's a program of evidence that's presented, when you show people, like my kids understand why we recognize humans as amongst the great apes, right? I put up a post on a reply on one, it's a little long, and it's way too long for Tommy to read, but on one of Jade's posts today, I put up a thing about, it's kind of an interesting idea I have hypothetically for a video, is that what would happen if you had a time machine, you went back 14 million years ago, and you looked at all the hominids of that era from 14 million years ago. There'd be one species of hominid. You wouldn't see humans. You wouldn't see chimpanzees. You wouldn't see bonobo. And what happens if you took one of those hominids and you brought it back to modern day Earth and had biologists look at it? And they could watch its behavior. They could look at CT scans and photographs. What would they conclude about this thing? Now, my kids understand. A Bigfoot. My kids understand this. They understand what is a hominoid, what is a hominid. They actually understand those things, and we look at the images of these creatures that we find. That's not indoctrination. That's when they ask a question about something. Like we also, one of the other questions that my son had was because he's now seeing more pictures of theropods with feathers, and it annoys him because he's seen so many pictures of like T-Rex and Albertosaurus with no feathers. He thinks Velociraptor had feathers, but T-Rex and Albertosaurus didn't have feathers. And now once in a while you'll see an image where they show some furriness and feathers and that sort of thing, and it annoys him. So we started doing a little bit of research into why did they think that other theropods had feathers. So when they have a curiosity about something, we look into it, and they get an explanation, sort of a program of study around why scientists think certain things, how they come to those conclusions. But when you just sit them down as a group and make them chant that, oh, if somebody uses the phrase millions of years, then you respond, were you there? Everybody together, were you there? Like that's indoctrination. That's propaganda.
You're not teaching them to
your
think.
kids really do understand the difference between hominoids and hominids and the different homoidea and all that?
Yeah, I mean, only for certain subsets. So, a hominoid to hominid, they know the distinguishing characteristics there. And then amongst the hominids, what the difference is between an orangutan versus pan versus gorilla versus homo. They don't get the thing about Neanderthal and how, like, you heard those guys the other night talking about how, well, if we evolved from Neanderthals, then, and nobody makes that claim. But it's also not fair to say that Neanderthal was a sister clade to Homo, and then they all went extinct, because there is good evidence that some modern humans are descendants of some Neanderthal. But not necessarily all humans. So that's a little confusing, and I don't think my kids would really grasp the math behind. I mean, anybody can draw a family tree, but when you have to have a family tree that has 100 billion branches to it, like, do you realize that of the not just Homo, but Homo sapiens sapiens, they put that figure at, like, how many Homo sapiens sapiens have there been? They say there've been it's about 110 billion, 107, 108 billion, which means that within the last few thousand years, the 100 billionth Homo sapiens sapien had died. So you get into a tree structure that is just so elaborate that I think it's a little early for them.
Well, my son knows Decepticons and Autobots, and he knows about 15 of each. And he can tell you all their names.
And has he learned yet about Dinobots?
Yes, he knows all the Dinobots, every Transformer there is.
I think it was Antonio's hangout. They were talking about Neanderthals, and Myth here was actually in the live feed going, let me in, just let me in, please let me in, please let me in. They wouldn't let him in.
They were butchering it pretty bad.
They were butchering it.
Yeah,
Hey,
I mean,
hey, Steve. Speaking of my creationist friend, you mind if I give her the link? It might be interesting for her to join.
By all means.
She's coming out of it now. I think she's
Yeah, by
pretty
all
much
means.
out of it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
How do I
Well,
give it to her?
Just copy paste it.
Is it? It's in the G Plus thing, the Google.
Are you on a phone or on a computer?
I'm on a computer.
Take
Go
the
to-
address bar at the top and copy paste that.
Yep. Yeah, I've actually been showing.
Just remind her. Or you know what? I'm gonna type it.
Yeah, type in the site. I've been showing people at my college Google Plus, and I've been introducing them to Mr. ID and Redline. so far, Redline's gained 2 new fans in the last week.
And Mr. ID,
they just kind of shook their heads. Didn't really have much of an opinion on Mr. ID. Like,
Hey, if she comes in,
now, did you tell him that Mr. ID's written 6 books?
No, I have not. I'm trying to keep
that butchers what we mean by book, by the way.
Yeah, I want to get a
video.
No, I try
So-
to.
So
what
short
happened to
aside,
that thing?
his newest video.
It ended abruptly and then it's over.
So what he's getting to is that people can't peer review him because they aren't discoverers, and people can't scrutinize him because scientists aren't discoverers; they're just scientists.
Get trust in Jesus in here.
So how many eggs do you have to drop to become a discoverer?
Yeah, no, right?
I don't know, probably 1 billion.
I can't find trust in Jesus for some reason when I tried to add him. Can you add him?
Let me see. Trust in
Okay. G-Man say got over, so
okay. I just invited him. Yeah, I saw he mentioned that. That's something he came up with recently. He said that in Redline's Hangout where he's a discoverer and people can't peer review him. So I'm like, so the people who are scientists who discover shit, were they also exempt from this?
his level. Don't you understand, Drag?
Yeah.
To be a
Oh,
peer
yeah, he did
reviewer,
say.
you have to be at least a peer. There's no peers to him. He's one of the only people. Actually, he is the only person that understands what he's talking about. So who the hell can peer review him? He's in a league of his own, man.
He's gonna come up with his own
AIG.
AIG.
He's out of your league, man. I mean,
He's the only person that understands his own bullshit.
No, Ronnie thought he brought up a very good point once. So
I mean, it's Ronnie. Is that
and
really
then
what
he
we're gonna go
butchered
to
what
as
it
our
was.
as
and
our
asked was.
as
I
our
was going to
review
say,
of him?
I was going to say, you know what? There's something I'm really, really happy about. I think it's very instructive and illustrative of Mr. ID being in the community, right? In that, and I want to make a couple of subjective assessments here. So feel free to disagree afterward or agree or whatever. But I'm just saying this is my opinion on it. I think Mr. ID is less sensible and he has less information and less, just makes less sense than Ronnie. That is to say, I think Ronnie says more stuff that is correct, more stuff that is understandable and is scientifically accurate than Mr. ID. So if I were to sort of scorecard the two of them, I would say, Ronnie's at an F plus and Mr. ID is at a G minus. I have to make a new letter for how confusing that fucking guy is. But when it comes to being cordial and being friendly and hey, I'm happy to see this guy, Mr. ID is like an A.
He's an A plus. He's an A plus.
Yeah.
Come on,
A plus. Okay.
He's a nice guy.
Well, I'm kind of not happy to see him because I always know that there's gibberish coming, but I don't want to let one rating pollute the
he's
other.
definitely an A. We'll give him an A.
Okay, we'll give him an A plus in the future. But Ronnie, he's at best a C minus or a D minus or something because he can be nice, but that's merely a cover for his utter contempt for you and his hatred for you, and it will come out at some point.
Oh yeah.
And it'll come out when he goes and hides under his bed and makes another video about you got to read the intent behind his tone and all this other nonsense things that he says about people. And when it comes down to it, who are we nice to? Are we nice? So they both disagree with us. Neither one of them make any sense, but one of them's a cool guy to talk with. The other one's an asshole. Who are we nice to? Who do we call out? Right? We tell them both they're wrong, right? As much as we can understand, to whatever extent we can understand either one of them. Once we figure out what they're talking about, we tell them that they're wrong. And but we're nice to them, and we don't say bad things about them. We just say they're wrong, And then when it comes to Ronnie, of course, we do criticize his lying and his weird twisting of facts and everything else. But then when you look on the other side of it, right? Who do they assess as experts? right? Like you notice that Ronnie says that, well, you know, Fiona knows something about science. If somebody says, well, like the other day, Hilary Zulu was saying something about how Fiona knows nothing about science. And Ronnie corrected him and said, well, you know, Fiona does know a bit about science. It's not like she's totally clueless.
Oh my God.
But who is he amazed by? Is he amazed by Sam? Or you know, is he amazed by Fiona? No, he's amazed by Mr. Intelligent Design. And it's baffling, but it makes sense when you think about it.
It's bizarre world.
Yeah.
But that's what me and Sam talk about. Like when Sam came in here originally, like we talk about this shit like schoolgirls. Like it's so fascinating, like the mind of Ronnie. Because like I got C Brown. Like I know many guys like C Brown. Right? He doesn't know a lot. He's loyal to a friend. He's going to stick up for him. I really don't blame him for that. Like I can't blame him. He could be a little less transparent about it, but you know that's his fault. But Ronnie is just weird. Like he can get like I told Sam, I said, watch this. Look, I'm going to link this rap video. It's called Never Ever. All right. Throughout the entire video, it's just laced with profanity and all types of things. But the chorus throughout says, "Get on my level, ho," and it's an insult, basically. You know, you're not up to par with me. So I link Ronnie and C Brown, and I said, watch. C Brown is going to know it's a joke. He knows what the song means. He knows it's a fun song actually, but Ronnie's going to get pissed. And not even 10 minutes after I posted, he's go, really seriously, dude? Like just calm down, Cupcake. You know, just relax. But he really got upset by it, and it's so strange. Like he takes his online appearance so seriously that anything that you say is a slight against him as a person, and to the point that I think he's just a little bit more delusional than G-Man, which is saying a lot.
Did you see my prediction the other day, Drag?
No, what happened?
Did you know the whole Skylar fiction thing going on last night?
I heard about it.
Yeah,
What's going on with that?
Okay, so what happened was this, very simple. JD Kane made a G Plus post. I think he actually just kind of shared one of my posts, but Ronnie had posted on it saying something about Skylar, saying, "Come on, Skylar, you know, you and me, let's go talk about intelligent design and evolution." He literally wanted to have a debate on him, the same topic he debated me on, which he didn't even show up for, which I thought was hilarious. And I said, Skylar's not going to go to your channel to do this. I mean, Skylar, this is not going to happen. And Skylar's like, yeah, there's no fucking way I'm going to go to your channel because you muted me last time. You basically lowered my volume, and you know the whole shtick that he does. So he said, I'll start a room, and yeah, you know what? If you want to talk about Christianity or atheism or whatever, come on over and we'll talk. And Ronnie immediately said, no, let me do it in my room. And Skylar was like, no, that's not happening. And I told Skylar, I said, watch what happened. I put him aside. I said, watch what happens. He is now going to go run to his room. He's going to start a hangout and say, oh, I've already started a room. And since we're already here, why don't you come over here, Skylar? Pretend to give you the link that he's not going to send you, and not realize that you're blocked, because I did remember that he was blocked. But he's going to say, oh, look at him be a coward and run away. And that's exactly what he did. He immediately went over to start a room, saying, oh, I have a room now, might as well do it over here. And Scott was like, fuck off, no way. Oh, look at the coward. He won't come into my room and talk about this. I mean, he literally did exactly what I said he was going to be doing, because that is his modus operandi. That is how he plays this, right? He wasn't going to go into Skylar's room. So what he does is start his own room and say, hey, look, I've already got a room going. Might as well come over here. And Skylar explicitly said, no fucking way am I going to go to your room and have a conversation with you in your room. It was so dishonest. And I said, watch him, Skylar. He is this dishonest that he's going to do this. And I even posted it in there, and he read it. He even acknowledged. He's like, oh yeah, they said I was going to do this. I'm like, yeah, and you did it.
Yeah, but then he referred to everything as backpedaling or damage control or whatever else. You know, there are some people, and I can certainly include Ronnie amongst this, that if they had even a little bit of self-awareness, they would admit freely, just like an alcoholic on step 9, sorry, not an alcoholic, but somebody in an AA program on step 9, would admit that they've lost credibility. Sorry, not all credibility. I'm making a very specific point here, but then I distracted myself. That they have lost credibility as a hangout host. Okay, like forget credibility on science. If you not at all what I'm getting at.
Right.
I'm literally just for the moment speaking about your skill and your credibility and the merited trust that is placed in somebody who is hosting a hangout.
Yep.
It's a bit of a special position because somebody has to be in charge of making decisions like whether or not the hangout stays up on YouTube or needs to be deleted for some reason. And a responsibility to make sure that people get the link. And there are these other, they're very controlling things. There has to be one person in charge of that because of the technical nature of how it works. We can't just meet at a park bench in a publicly owned park. We have to go to someone's house. Or as I often use the example, we have to go to someone's backyard for a barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us, I will say, retain credibility as an honest host. And others have just lost their credibility. And if he had any self-awareness, Ronnie would be able to say, yeah, I see what you guys are getting at. I would still like to talk with people. I don't want to go to Steve's channel because I just don't, personally, I don't like what Steve does. But I'm willing to go to any other channel. But I agree that I shouldn't be hosting. Or it doesn't even have to be that extreme. Even if he said, look, I've turned over a new leaf. I understand what people are concerned about. I've watched how other people host Hangouts, and I want to emulate their style a bit more. So I understand why people don't really trust me. But you know what? I'm turning over a new leaf. Starting today, I'm running my Hangouts like this. But you'll never hear that. Every time it comes up, he says, I'm too soft on these guys. I let them get away with too much, and I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, starting today, I'm actually going to start taking some control over my Hangouts, and I'm going to start ejecting people. You're going to start.
The self-awareness is zero to begin with, and then the way he course corrects it makes matters worse. He doesn't know how to properly course correct because he's just so unaware of his own behavior. I mean, literally, when I say Bizarro World, he lives in Bizarro World. Everything is up with him is down. Just he's so predictable because whatever you think a rational person would do, Ronnie does the opposite.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out. How does he operate as an adult doing that? Because I would get fired.
I guess.
That's like if I was Ronnie, right? Or if Ronnie and I would switch places, I'd probably be I'd put him in a better place. But if he had my position as a tutor, he would get fired.
Oh,
there's no fucking way. He doesn't know enough, and then his temperament isn't that he would have the patience to try and explain something to someone else that he doesn't know, right? And he just get pissy with them.
Yeah.
I've worked with
my
people
job as
like him. I've worked with people like how Ronnie would be if he were a tutor, and what he would do is he would lord it over the people under him. I guarantee it.
And people get resentful and they don't want to deal with them. But I do want to say real quick, I gotta agree with Hogtie's assessment. When running a hangout and stuff like that, I know this sounds weird, but it is kind of a skill set. Not everybody can run proper hangouts. We've seen this demonstrated time and time again. I mean, would you want to go to Darwin's Deity hangout if it's his backyard barbecue? No. He's completely incompetent to run a hangout. And there's a lot of things that are involved.
Well, I would draw a qualitative difference. Just real quick, Van, I would draw a qualitative difference there. I think it's fair to say, well, some people are better than others, but there's sort of an agreed upon thing by what we mean by being good at it. And then there's people who don't even try to be good at it. They're qualitatively different. When you're a DD, you're not there. He's not merely unskilled at hosting a hangout. It's reprehensible. He goes the exact opposite with it. So I would make a qualitative distinction there.
I got you. Yeah,
and he's doing a situation now where he's spreading his hangout to others.
Yeah, he's teaching. Yeah, he's teaching his style. I mean, that's what I think Ronnie got a lot of his newer style from. He's like, oh, I'm going to go the DD route. So he's picking up the most incompetent moderator and competent hangout host
and
time, and that's what they look to. Yeah,
he's not the worst one of it though. Antonio's getting it.
He's getting pretty. Yeah, Tony's getting pretty bad. Yeah, and we made a mention that Antonio always say, "Well, people say that I moderate really well." No, Antonio, they said you used to moderate halfway decently. You were okay at it. You went from decent to shit to absolutely deplorable.
Once you gave DD permanent mods in your room, you've lost it.
Yep. Yeah, and that, but mind you, that's an easy fix. Oh, yeah. Sorry, you said permanent. Sorry, in planning this, I didn't hear you say the word permanent. Yeah, you said permanent. Yeah. Because there's a fix for it as long as it's not permanent. Now there are a set of people when they come in my room, and they're not all atheists, but they're people that I respect their judgment in terms of like what I like or don't like in a hangout. I like if somebody just goes to straight out personal attack, I like that person to be kind of shushed. right? We don't need that. I mean, there's other Hangouts where people do that. That's fine. That's just a choice I've made. But when it's just vulgar stuff or whatever else, then that person needs to be muted or hidden, or too much interrupting, they're muted. If there's just vulgar stuff, they're hidden from broadcast. And they also know where the line is. I've sometimes walked away from a Hangout and come back to find out somebody was ejected. And when I see why they were ejected, every time I look at it, it was a righteous ejection. If I had somebody who ejected somebody once and I didn't agree with the ejection, I would tell that moderator, like, look, you could have just hidden the person from broadcast and then let me deal with it when I got back. I've not had that come up, but that's what I would do. But I would not do it a second time with that person. All that happens, and I mean, you're still welcome to come in to my Hangouts, but then you just don't get mod abilities anymore. And nobody should have their feelings hurt by that. I just want people that are sort of match the style. And for some reason, Antonio doesn't buy into the logic of that, because he'll give DD mods, and then DD will say, that's it, I'm ejecting you. I'm ejecting you. And then you'll hear Antonio go, oh, no, wait, hang on, wait. And then he's ejected from the room. And then Antonio will go, oh, man, I was going to tell you, you don't have to eject him. And I didn't, but he was trolling and blah, blah, blah. He goes, yeah, but I wouldn't have ejected him for that. Okay, great. So that didn't work so well, did it, Antonio? But then the next Hangout, guess who's got mods again? At that point, and until he learns, you need to appoint mods that apply the judgment that you would apply in those circumstances. You fucked up yourself, and you got no one to complain to.
Yep, absolutely. And I usually give a lot of people mods, but I trust a lot of people. But there's certain, if I have to like pick one person, say you're in charge, I pick this person I think is going to follow along to the type of person who knows how I run my channel and what I'm looking for, right? I think we all kind of do that. And like you said, if they start ejecting people willy-nilly, you don't have people coming to your channel, and that's what's happening to their channel. There are reasons to eject, absolutely. And I mean, I've ejected for good reasons before. I had to eject, like, people know that I ejected Rumpus the other day. It's nothing personal. It's a one-time thing. It's just it's not conducive to the conversation what we're having or whatever. It happens, right? I mean, people do get ejected for various reasons, but these guys over there, they take it like it's so personal. Like the other day, I'll give you an example. I didn't want to. My voice was kind of shot. I didn't want to talk over a lot of people. I had a lot to talk about with Skylar. I didn't want Stizer to come in because I knew as soon as Stizer comes in, I was not going to have a good conversation with Skylar. He was going to try to dominate. I could never get a word in edgewise, and he would just talk out his ass. I wasn't in the mood for it, so I just said, you know what? I'm not giving out the link to you, Stizer, and not today. And I explained why. He got mad as fuck. And I would have been like, if somebody doesn't want to give me the link, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just sit here and listen. It's cool. If I said, hey, Hogtie, give me the link to your Hangout, and Hogtie's like, well, I'm kind of just having this discussion with DPR or something. I don't want a lot of people involved or blah, 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 blah. I'll be like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. But no, there are people that literally fucking get personally, like it's an affront to them, and they don't understand why. Each Hangout is different. Each moderator's different. Yeah, I just thought it was kind of weird that Stizer really took it so goddamn personally.
Yeah,
by the way,
that's understandable. Or could be a bit of an ass, but Antonio's doesn't but be a new MK for DD. Just a person he can latch on to.
Yep.
Basically, shout his inflammatory rhetoric to people and just harass. I mean, the child's got suffer as a result of that.
MK
Absolutely.
never gave DD mods.
Yeah, he did. What the hell, you?
Mm-hmm. Of course he did.
He lost. He did at the beginning. You're right. Right.
He did, and then and then they spoke about it. They spoke about it privately, and he said, look, you can still come in. I'd like you to contribute to the conversation, but I'm not giving you mods anymore because you just run away with it. And then DD came into a Hangout and announced on air that they had that private conversation. That's how I know about it, because DD himself brought it up. MK did the right thing and approached him about it privately. DD brought it up in a Hangout and did this objection. And I mean, I think that's fair. By the way, I have undone mods for people on a couple of occasions, and I've told them, and this is honest, like, it wasn't that I don't like their moderation choices. It was that they didn't have the skill set. If you don't host your own Hangouts, you often don't know how the tools work, and you don't know the difference between muting versus hiding from broadcast versus ejection, and where those particular buttons are. If you haven't got the right speed, generally don't I don't take it away. It's just next time that person comes in, they don't get mods, and it's just because, and you know what? I find those people don't want mods anyway. So it's never really any source of friction. But the thing about, I mean, Stizor, He makes a contribution for a while, but then he starts just being intentionally argumentative, and I don't find that makes for good conversation. And he tends to want every, the pattern of the conversation to be where Stizor is A, to be like, B A B A B A C A D A B A. He has to talk like all the time. I'm guilty of that myself occasionally, but I'm no Stizor. Like this is so. There's that, and then Steve. Just the third thing here is you mentioned about the when people were asking for the link when I was talking to DPR and Aaron. Well, DPR had wanted to talk about some things, and then we called Aaron on Skype, and then he said, "Oh yeah, sure, let's just go live." So we were talking live, and DPR had some things that he wanted to mention, and I knew what was going to happen. As soon as I opened the doors, there was going to be people coming in that was like, "Hey, what's going on? We haven't seen you in a while. Hey, Aaron, what about this thing? What about that thing?" And it was going to turn into a big Q&A, and I knew that DPR wasn't going to get a chance to talk about what he wanted to talk about. So I just announced very early on that yes, I will be giving out the link, but it will be later. And you know how many people were upset by that? Flat zero.
Yeah. Why would they? No. Why would they?
I'm just upset
Yeah.
that DPR won't respond to me on Skype. That's Aaron will, but DPR won't. So I has a sad.
Well, because he thinks you're G-Man still.
He's DPR is not a Skypeaholic, I can tell you. I've sent him a message.
I'm the one that doesn't use Skype. I mean, I
used
have
to.
it, but I feel like I'm so out of the loop because I don't use Skype as much as you guys.
Yeah, he used to. I mean, DPR was more invested in his online time, and when his computer turned on, he had Skype running. But he's not like that anymore. He's very much moved away from the whole sort of minute-to-minute monitoring of what happens on Plus and YouTube. I think he's better off for it. I think we'd all be a little better off if we took a few months off and took a look at our lives and stopped, worrying about the same issues. But
yeah,
which I'm going to do right now. So I'll catch you guys later.
Wait, hold on before you go. Wait.
All right, yeah.
Someone has a question. The Magic Sandwich Show returns this month? Question mark.
Return is too strong of a word. What DPR had wanted to express was that he doesn't think it's really the right time for a regular scheduled thing. But he is fascinated by some of the things that are going on in the world, not necessarily in the Google Plus world. So on April, somebody remind me of the date, I'm going to say April 30th, he wants to do a one-time sort of reunion broadcast. And it'll be, I think the theme of it will be Trump's 100 days. And then everybody makes the joke that, oh my God, what's it going to be? If you're gonna do a broadcast on the crazy stuff that's happened in the first 100 days of Trump, like, is that going to be a 24-hour broadcast? Like, how's that going to work?
Yeah, he had asked the other day. He was asking what do you think if he's going to be impeached or not? And that's a hard question to answer. I mean, statistically, it's literally half and half. I think they're giving 4-1 odds right now in Vegas or something that he'll be impeached.
Well, let me answer that one. I want to give my answer. I mean, at least my opinion on it, and then I really should go because, like I say, you know what? I don't think he's going to. And there's a thread I was on the other day that I think it came out really well. So it was on the video that we're talking about, where first off, we had to make that clarification that impeachment is a lot like indictment. It doesn't mean that you're convicted of anything. There's an impeachment, which is just a charge that's put.
I know.
Forward.
I felt bad correcting a lawyer on that, but I knew I was right. By the way.
No, I
knew I was right.
Yeah, we had an off-air one time, just a Skype conversation about 4 years ago, because of something that was going on in the court system, and he was confused because of a ruling from the Supreme Court. It was the Supreme Court of the state of California, which I had to tell him about 6 times. That's not the black robe group you're thinking of. Like Ginsburg is not on the Supreme Court of California. Right. He didn't understand that there were multiple Supreme Courts, because then he's like, well, then how are they supreme? And I said, because they are the Supreme Court for the matters upon which they rule, right? They're the Supreme Court for the matters of law within the state of California. Yeah, and the Supreme Court of the United States has no say over application of law in the state of California, save for the case where somebody thinks that they were offended under federal law by a ruling of the Supreme Court of the state of California, in which case they go to the district court. And the district court is the Supreme Court of California is the highest court in the land for matters of law for the state of California. If you don't like what they say and you think you have a specific objection under federal law, then you take your concern to the lowest court in the land for federal matters. And he was just like, yeah. And I think there's 2 districts in California. I don't remember. Maybe there's 3. I don't know. I even remember like pulling up a wiki page and trying to show them the organization, because it's not like a big pyramid. It's a bunch of little pyramids, and then there's sort of a parallel pyramid behind it for different matters of law. And sometimes they'll spill over, because if you say that the Supreme Court of California did something because they were following California law, but the law itself
It's
is
unconstitutional.
not permitted under the U.S. Constitution. Well, it depends which Constitution it violates, because if you think it violates the California state Constitution, you got to take it up with California state. Supreme Court of the United States will not deal with that.
You have your appellate districts as well. You have
only
to deal with.
Only if you think it's unconstitutional under the federal Constitution. And
Right.
It's, so I understand.
Is it under the federal or under the state for the appellate district? If it's unconstitutional under the state or the federal?
If it's unconstitutional, if it violates the state constitution, you have to proceed through the state court system to the state Supreme Court, and then you're sunk. Unless you can make an argument that it violates the federal constitution, in which case you file with the district court and appeal to the circuit court, and then seek leave to appeal.
Yeah, I know I'm in the Ninth Circuit. That much I do know. California's in the Ninth Circuit.
So it's confusing for people, and we don't do it that way here. He doesn't do it that way there. So when you correct him, he takes no offense, because he liberally admits that he just doesn't understand those things. So he's quite fine with that. But sorry, I lost my point here. It was he doesn't mind that objection. Oh, sorry, the impeachment. So I was using the example about how impeachment is like indictment. So the president has nothing to do with the impeachment process. It's a charge brought forward by the
House of Representatives.
House of Representatives, not the full Congress, just the House. And they do it without a chance for him to defend itself. It's just a charge brought forward, much like an indictment of a citizen by the grand jury.
Yep.
And but here's the difference. That would be the case if it were the grand jury in my community that was made up of a bunch of people on my bowling team and in my church group and my business partners, right? Because it's a Republican-controlled House, they are not going to come forward with impeachment, for one, because there's a Republican-controlled House, and for two, because it would be pointless, because the actual trying of fact, the seeking of the conviction based on the impeachment, would be tried by other members of the Republican Party in the Senate. So it's just not going to happen. And even though DPR had wanted to get into a discussion about whether or not it would be merited under the Constitution, it doesn't matter whether it is or not, because it's got to do with the people who would need to make that decision, and they won't.
No, you make a good valid point. I mean, it'd have to be something really, really, really egregious. That's why I said, it's like I think it's possible though. I'm not going to take it off the table, but as you said, it'd be very difficult to impeach Trump. But that's exactly what would happen. Do I think that there are some impeachable offenses somewhere down the line? Quite possibly. I don't think he's on the up and up, but I think he's willfully not on the up and up. I think he's so unaware of what his position is and how things, what laws are. That if he gets impeached, he'll probably be on shit that he didn't even know that he did wrong.
Yeah. Well, I do take DPR's point that when what's his nose, Clinton was impeached, it was based on lies he told related to a sex scandal and not the actual functioning of the government. Yeah, I know, but he's saying, well, if they can impeach over something like that, well, can't they impeach over something like, the false accusations of Obama, wiretapping, or he had a whole bunch of other examples. But like I say, I do got to go, so I'll.
Yeah, they can't impeach over those things. So he's not. He was under Clinton was under federal.
Anyway, I got to go right now, so we'll chat later.
Okay. Yeah. Watch Hogtie run away now. Oh, sorry. And the room went dead.
It happens.
I am going to bring this to a close. It is.
Watch Dragnot run away now. This is what they do.
I am running because I have to go to work in about 7 hours, and I don't want to.
Get some sleep, buddy.
I don't want to go to work. I don't like those people. I really don't. Oh shit. Okay, so I'm going to tell people. 13 Heathen just sent me a message. Skeptic Squirrel is now live, and Mr. ID is over there with Stizor and quite a few others.
He's trying to bullshit. He's trying to bullshit Stizor. I mean, that's
you know what? That's too much concentrated bullshittery. If them two are talking, I couldn't even deal with it. I'm going to go watch iZombie season 2, episode 10. I think I'm on. No, actually, I'm on episode 15. Holy crap!
So, never mind. It was from last night. Whoops, sorry. Okay. Okay.
And I'm gonna go make some dinner. So Dragnot Grid Hangout. I'll probably have one tomorrow. So.
All right, guys. Jesus
All right,
loves
guys. See ya.
Catch y'all later.
All right. Thanks. I mainly did this for my Patreons. Thank you, folks. But some of y'all actually wanted to see what I do, since I tell you that I work with DNA and water, among other things.
How do you do that? It just evolves.
It has to be an aqueous solution that uses water as well.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And get a hold of C Brown tomorrow. Let's arrange something, or whenever we just try. I want C Brown to answer some very simple questions, but we got to keep it. We got to keep it moving.
I just want him to answer one question. Really, I've been asking this question for about 3 weeks now, and I'm just asking him how many nuclear explosions made by lightning did Noah dodge? He hasn't seemed to be able to answer that for quite some time.
He just throws a lot of shit out there, right? But I mean, I want to keep it on this DNA stuff, but I want him to answer simple questions without going into rhetoric, right? And that's what we have to keep C Brown from doing. Whenever he's talking about rhetoric, let him finish and say, okay, back to the original point. Don't even address the other side things that he's going down. Here's the question. Let him answer. Okay, it had nothing to do with the question. Here's the question again. We have to keep them pinpoint on the subjects, or else he just goes down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. He's a good bullshit artist. Yeah, because as soon as he starts doing that, it's like, okay, I see where this is going. Like, I want
I don't let him get away with that. I just keep bringing it back.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. I just as long as he can, not feel too stressed and finish his rambling, but then to keep bringing it right back to the question that he refuses to answer. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey guys, one other quick thing. Steve Dragnot, I guess y'all saw the that Ronnie actually did take the clip of the marine biologist guy answering. Remember y'all asked the marine biologist?
Oh yeah, he did exactly what he said he was going to do.
He sure did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did you watch my video on that though?
Yep.
Myth?
Is that the one where
my 2-minute video?
I think so. Where you were talking about him being a liar?
Yeah, anthology of a liar.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, I think in 2 minutes I just completely demonstrated that Lance thinks he's an idiot. That Lance told him he took him out of context. He didn't play the whole part and did exactly what he said he was going to do. He is literally this dishonest, Myth. I mean, he's not even trying to hide it anymore. He is so fucking dishonest.
Oh, it got worse.
But when he said that, when he answered it that way, I just I knew it was going to be. I was like, oh my god, no.
Oh, I did too. But but again, I don't ask these people ahead of time, and maybe we should. But then again, I want it to be spontaneous, and I don't mind if somebody does something like this because, again, as I told Fiona, we use these things to our advantage. When Ronnie runs like this and lies, it only hurts his credibility, not ours.
There's a reason I didn't prompt Lance, because I could have told. Lance knows about G-Man. I purposely didn't tell him about True because I wanted an honest answer. When he was answering it, I wanted him to supply the context within a few seconds of him saying it, so that it would give Ronnie a chance to clearly edit it. So now that Ronnie, of course, I'm saying it now, and I told Ronnie, like, I knew this was going to happen because I knew Lance was then going to qualify what he said thereafter, because I understand his speech cadence from working with him for years. So I guess Ronnie thinks that he knows my friend better than me or something. I don't know how that works, but this is just one part of a little plan that I have for Ronnie, a little game that I have. And I told Ronnie, and I know he's watching, and some of his friends are, that I was going to make him my bitch for 2017. This is just the beginning. Oh,
I made him. I already did it though. I already made him.
Oh no, you did a really good job. I have so much more planned for Ronnie.
And it's so funny. It's so funny because he said they're trying to blame it on Lance, going, "Oh, Lance is Drag's friend. Why would Drag do this to him?" And Lance is like, "What the fuck does got to do with a Drag? You're the idiot that took what I said, chopped it up, didn't let it qualify, and then ran with it as a dishonest piece of shit."
Did you see the thread where he said, "Well, Lance is just upset that he's being dragged in this drama"? I said, "No, he's upset that you're dishonest." And I showed the screenshot because even before I went on G Plus this morning, I spoke to Lance, and he said, "Yeah, they're still sending me messages and stuff, but I'm ignoring it." And Lance spoke about why he was, just disgusted with it. And it showed that he said it was because dishonesty. Yep. And it's like, well, True. Well, are you psychic or are you lying? Because Lance says right here why he's disgusted. It was because your dishonesty.
I mean, you guys are still friends. Lance doesn't matter to you in any way, right?
Oh, please. No.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, obviously, Ronnie is so full of shit is unreal. And I don't think he's watching this.
Do you have it on clip? Don't you
What's
have it
that?
on clip? Don't you have it on clip of Lance actually saying that, Ronnie, you're wrong,
Yes.
and you're wrong?
Yes. Yeah. We're gonna. I might have another video coming out with that if it continues. But yeah, he said, Ronnie, you're wrong. Let me explain to you what it is. Again, it goes to the type of the question, but I've been asked. But here's the thing. Just like when C. Brown popped in here, and I know, Drag, you got to go real quick, but C. Brown popped in here. We asked him, hey, Ronnie initially said that these phosphodiester bonds broke, and then he said later on that he changed his position, and now he's saying that he's had the same position the entire time. Well, that's a contradiction. And Wolf, Red brought that up, and and we all have asked this before of him. C. Brown doesn't have an answer to this, right? How do you have the same position all along, yet at somewhere during the whole exchange of all this, you change your position? It's not. It doesn't even make sense because he didn't know what the hell the bond was to begin with. He didn't even know the structure of DNA when all this started. Ronnie didn't know anything about this topic. He came. The community thinking that, oh, I'm going to bullshit my way through this, and he ran to people that actually knew what DNA was and said, dude, no, wait, you're so off in left field, you know what the fuck you're talking about.
But he's doubling down though that it degrades and not dissolves, though, right?
No, he says it does both.
Okay.
But now he says he's talking about hydrolysis reactions now again. And it's like, dude, what the hell does hydrolysis reactions have to do with dissolving?
He mentions it because Fiona had mentioned it in her correction of what he was trying to say, and
right.
then he carried that over to the conversation with the whole him and Hogtie solvate the world's problems.
The correction was that over time, certain bonds will spontaneously hydrolyze, and over a long period of time. But that's when something goes into solution and dissolves, you don't have hydrolyze. You don't have it hydrolyze.
Well,
you have a hydrogen ion pop off. That's it.
He didn't know it. Let's go back and listen to the Drag and I have a chat. What he says is that there's an issue with the salt. He said, and I said, what is the reaction that you're talking about that's going to happen that's going to destroy the DNA? And he can't give me an answer. And so I keep pushing for the specific name of the reaction. You hear me asking him, what is the name of the reaction? Is it an acid base reaction? Yeah, it's an acid base. Okay. I said, okay, well, so what's the base that it's going to react with? Well, it's the salt. There's a sea salt in the water. I was like, wait, so the salt? And that's when
sea salt.
Yeah, you hear him mention.
You use sea salts in your
sea salt is a base. What?
You hear him.
Sea salt is a base.
You hear. Well, I'm asking him what the base is in the water, like in the ocean during that time, and he keeps talking about the salt. And so I'm trying to get clarification. You hear me keep asking questions. Like it sounds like I'm asking the same question over and over again. Is because he's not being clear on what he's actually referring to.
Because he actually said, and this was in that video with Hogtie, again, we have all this written down, and we showed it to somebody. They said, "Wow, you guys have really documented this." We're like,
"Oh yeah, we have Wikipedia."
Oh yeah, it's a Wikipedia type thing. And he said, "quote that when the proton comes off that OH group, it just quote destabilizes the sugar phosphate backbone. It destabilizes the phosphodiester bonds." And we're like, what the hell does that even mean? How does it destabilize? How does that? It just drives me nuts because we've shown people, look, this is where that phosphate group is. Here's where that little hydrogen ion comes off the OH group. It has nothing fucking to do with the phosphate bonds. Nothing at all. And that's why he changed his position finally after we realized, oh, Fiona et al. Are right. But then he's like, oh, but I've said this all along. I've never changed my position. Everybody else has been wrong. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I think he looked at a diagram and then got it a bit confused. And so when he misspoke, he then doubled down on it because, of course, he can't admit fault. I think that's honestly what happened. He just got a little confused. And that's happened before, too, with the whole veritables thing, where I was talking to Jason Burns, and he keeps repeating veritable even after I go, you mean variables? Because he can't admit fault. Like, it really doesn't matter what the context is. And that's what I'm highlighting because it's funny, right? But
yeah. All right. Have a good night, Drag.
Good night, Drag.
All right. Have a good night.
I'm out here too.